Yeah, my cam was live, but what was going on when I started this is I only opened it up to StreamYard. I didn't actually broadcast it to, what do you call it, YouTube. I only had it available for StreamYard. So while I'm letting this pan get hot, I'm gonna just kind of talk to you guys for a little bit. It's open to YouTube now. I mean, I see that. But basically what I did was I turned it on for everybody that uses StreamYard, just to kind of get you guys notified of what was going on, and did not broadcast it to YouTube yet, because the people that use StreamYard, I want to kind of tailor some more of the information to them first, because I want more people to go to StreamYard. So anyway, we're live now on YouTube, and I've got, I'm going to cook this New York strip. And then while I'm in the middle of cooking this New York strip, I'm going to talk to you guys about a couple studies that I have pulled up. I don't know if it'll kick me off of here if I switch back and forth. Let me try that real quick and see if that. So my cam is still live right now. And okay, so I think I'm still good. I clicked on the other studies right now and it didn't boot me off of here. So I can go back and talk about those while I'm talking to you guys, so we can kind of set this up for this first video, talking about a couple studies that are out there. And then the second portion of the video, we're going to come back and we're going to actually break down what it says. I might do some of it during, but it's not going to, it's not all going to be right now. So basically what we're going to look at is the arterial wall thickening on a ketogenic diet. And there's been some stuff that has popped up where people are talking about somebody on social media that's trying to make a big deal about being on a ketogenic diet and the arterial wall hardening eventually. And we're going to touch base with that. Let me throw this steak in this skillet. I went to Mariano's and they had like Angus. I think it wasn't choice. It was select or something like that, or it was the next one up before you get grass fed. And they had like a whole package of like 4 or 5 of them in one pack, and it was only like 34, 35 bucks. So I was like, man, that's pretty cheap for 4 or 5 of them. So I went ahead and got it, because normally they're like $50, $60. So the first one we'll look at, it's the effect of the ketogenic diet on the vascular structure and functions within children and intractable epilepsy. What's going on, Boomer? Basically, the objective here is it says it's aimed to determine the midterm effect of a ketogenic diet on serum lipid panels, carotid intima media thickness, and the elastic properties of the carotid artery and the aorta in patients with intractable epilepsy. So outside of the epilepsy, what I want to look at here is the elasticity of the arteries and stuff in general, and the fact that serum lipid panels, if you just start a ketogenic diet and you expect 6 months later your lipid panels to not be up because of the level of fat that you're eating, you're going to set yourself up for failure anyway, because the primary purpose of being on the diet is to that's for your cousin's baby. Sorry, that was Angie's brother. He just woke up and he saw there was a high chair sitting right here. He's like looking at me like, "Did you get my sister pregnant?" That's for her cousin's baby. When they come into town, she wanted to get a high chair for the baby. So basically, what I do when I fry that steak is I'll turn it up kind of high, get the skillet piping hot. I'll throw the steak in there and cook one side with it piping hot, and then I'll turn it off and flip it over to the other side and just let it slowly come down with the heat, and it'll cook the other side of the steak, and I'm done. I don't have to worry about burning it. The objective, again, we aim to determine the midterm effect of a ketogenic diet on serum lipid panels levels, carotid intima media thickness, and the elastic properties of the carotid artery and aorta in patients with intractable epilepsy. A total of 52 children aged between 12 months and 18 years with intractable epilepsy who started with the ketogenic diet from September 14th to September 2014 to September 2015 were included into the prospective study. Carotid intima media thickness and the elastic properties of the carotid artery and the aorta were assessed by echocardiography. I can't even say that word right. Echocardiography. Echocardiography. Sorry. Echocardiography. And it's too early. In all cases, before beginning of the ketogenic diet and after at least 12 months of the ketogenic diet. Results were 21 patients at the 3rd month and 25 patients at the 1st year of the ketogenic diet were seizure-free. So it worked for them seizure-wise. A reduction of the greater than 90% in the seizure frequency was achieved in 3 patients at the 6th month and 5 patients at the 1st year of the first treatment. The serum levels of total cholesterol, low-density lipoprotein, and triglycerides were increased significantly at a median of 12.6 months, range 12 to 13.5 months of the ketogenic diet treatment. So they're saying at about the year mark is when they really started to see the increase of the serum lipid panel levels, whereas the serum lipid panel levels of low-density lipoprotein did not change. So they're saying that the low-density lipoprotein and serum levels were the same the entire time. So the serum levels of total cholesterol, low-density lipoprotein, and triglycerides were increased significantly at a median of 12.6 months of the ketogenic diet treatment, whereas serum levels of high-density lipoprotein did not change. So I see what they're saying now. They're saying LDL changed, triglyceride changed, but HDL did not change. Carotid intima media thickness, aortic and carotid strain, the stiffness index, the extensibility, and the elastic modulus did not change after 12 months of the ketogenic diet therapy. So they're saying here in this study, which the study is by, if you look at Pediatric Neural, 2016 March, and if you want to look at a docket number, it's a PubMed study, it's an abstract. Let me see if I can find a docket number here. I think I can copy and paste this, and then you can find it that way. So that's what I'm going to try to do. Okay, so I've copied it. I'm going to try to paste it in here so you guys can see it. Let me see if this works. So you might have to go punch those numbers in if you actually want to see what I'm talking about. But looking at this here, and I wish I knew how to bring this on screen for you guys. I haven't yet exactly learned how to do StreamYard yet. I think it's because I'm using the free subscription and I probably need to pay for it. And I think that's what I'm going to do now. So the elasticity modulus did not change after 12 months of the ketogenic diet therapy. So they're happy with how the arteries looked and formed and the elasticity of them overall, the aorta, the carotid artery. So they're fine with that. Nothing changed. The only thing that they noticed changed was the fact that the majority of them were seizure free and the serum levels did go up. HDL stayed the same, but LDL and the triglycerides did increase. The conclusion of this was the olive oil-based ketogenic diet appears to have no disturbing effect on the carotid intima media thickness and the elastic properties of the aorta and the carotid artery in epileptic children. Although it may be associated with increased concentrations of serum lipids, that's not necessarily the case here. Okay, so there's one study where it talked about them studying the elasticity, the thickness, and the overall basically health of the artery, and there was no change. Now there's another, this is the short-term effect of a ketogenic diet on carotid intima media thickness and the elastic properties of a carotid artery and aorta. So they basically went back and did another DACA's MD. So Under DACA's MD, Orchid Guzzle MD, Unsal Yilmaz MD. So there was a series of doctors that went back over that Journal of Child Neurology. They went back over that and they actually came up with the same thing. The aim of the prospective study is to investigate the effect of a 6-month ketogenic diet on carotid intima media thickness, carotid artery, arteriovascular function. 38 drug-resistant epileptic patients who were being treated with ketogenic diets were enrolled. Fasting total cholesterol, high-density lipoprotein, low-density lipoprotein, triglycerides, total cholesterol, and glucose concentration were measured, and echocardiography was performed in all patients before the beginning of the ketogenic diet and the 6th month of the treatment. The body weight, height, mass index, serum levels, triglyceride levels, total cholesterol, low-density lipoprotein increased significantly at the 6th month when compared to baseline values. Carotid intima media thickness, elastic properties in the aorta, and carotid artery did not change at the 6-month mark of therapy compared to the baseline values. A 6-month-long ketogenic diet has no effect on carotid intima media thickness and elastic properties of the carotid artery and the aorta. This is the conclusion of that study at 6 months. They kept it going over a year, and after the year mark, when being looked at, it was the same thing. There was no change in arterial elasticity. There was no change in artery health at all. It was still the same. So far, it looks like there's nothing that is that negative artery-wise about what people have been saying on the ketogenic diet and the impact of the ketogenic diet on arterial morphology and endothelial function. Let's see. This is another study. The population was composed of 43. Okay, so this is what I really want you guys to focus on. Whenever I'm talking to you guys about confirmation bias and doing your homework, here's another one. This is the impact of a ketogenic diet on arterial morphology and endothelial function in children and young adults with epilepsy. Another case study that was done on. So we just looked at a case study that was done, and I'll go ahead and link this too. Let me see if I can go up here and share the link to it. I don't know how to do it on this. So now we're going to look at this one, and this will say the exact opposite of what we just read. The present study aims to assess the impact of the ketogenic diet on arterial morphology and endothelial function of the big vessels of the neck, the cardiac diastolic function in the cohort epileptic children and young adults treated with a ketogenic diet. Patients were recruited based on the following inclusion criteria. Patients who, number one is patients who were or had been on the ketogenic diet for a time period of at least 6 months. So basically they were taking their word for it. Each patient underwent measurement of carotid intima media thickness, carotid artery stiffness, echocardiography, diastolic function assessment. The patients with drug-resistant epilepsy matched for number, age, and sex, and never treated with a ketogenic diet were also recruited as controls. The results: the population study was composed by 43 epileptic patients, 23 males. So I'm assuming the other 20 were females, aged between 19 and 31 years, mean 11 years. 23 patients were or had been treated with a ketogenic diet, and 20 had never been on it. That was the control group. Subjects treated with the ketogenic diet had higher arterial parameters, including ALX, B-index, and higher serum levels of cholesterol and triglycerides compared to those who had never been on the ketogenic diet, the control group. Arterial stiffness is increased in children and young adults treated with a ketogenic diet before the increase of intima media thickness. This supports that arterial stiffness is an early marker of cardiovascular damage. So we just read 2 studies that said 6 months and a year, there was no, in the conclusion, there was nothing at all. And now we're reading another one where it says that there is some issues with cardiovascular endothelial thickness, and it does become a problem. So at that point, you know, you have to be your own best judge. We just looked at 2 studies that were done where there was nothing found at all. After 6 months, 12 months, they even referenced 13.5 months, and nothing was found to be bad with endothelial thickness, endothelial wall thickness, endomorphology, none of that. So when it comes down to it, what do you look at? You know, you can post all the studies in the world. People can get all upset and stuff. Bart brought up the fact somebody in the comment section brought up the fact last night that they wanted to see what was going on with this new article that these people were talking about. Well, I can pull up plenty of them from all the way back 13, 14. Let's see another one here. Effects of a ketogenic diet on vascular function. This is a different doctor, different study. Background, let's see. Okay, so effects of a ketogenic diet on vascular function. Love you. I'll see you later. The ketogenic diet is a well-established treatment in children with difficult to treat epilepsy. Very little is known about the long-term effects of a vascular, atherogenic, and biochemical process of this high-fat and low-carbohydrate protein diet protein diet. The methods: we evaluated 26 children after 1 year, 13 children after 2 years of the ketogenic diet. High-resolution ultrasound-based assessment was used for the carotid artery intima media thickness, carotid artery distensibility, and carotid artery compliance. Blood lipids, including the high-density lipoprotein cholesterol, low-density lipoprotein cholesterol, total cholesterol, APOA, APOB, the high sensitivity C-reactive protein, which your inflammation marker, was analyzed as well. So the results was a gradual decrease in carotid distensibility and an increase in LDL-C. ApoB and LDL-C and LDL-C-HDL-C ratios were seen at 3 and 12 months of the ketogenic diet treatment. These differences were not significant at 24 months, so there was no increase in LDL-C, HDL-C, and ApoB at the 3-month mark compared to the 12-month mark. So the differences between those two were not significant at all. And then these differences were also not significant at the 24-month mark. Let's see here. BMI and HSCRP did not show any significant changes at all. So the ketogenic diet and this result of the study that was done for 24 months showed no increase in inflammatory markers, but it also did not show much of a decrease either. It says there was it did not show any significant changes. Conclusion: the initial alterations of lipids, ApoB, and the arterial function observed within the first year of the ketogenic diet treatment appear to be reversible and not significant after 24 months of treatment. So, conclusion: the initial alteration in lipids, ApoB, and arterial function observed within the first year of the ketogenic diet appeared to be reversible and not significant after 24 months. So if there was something, which, probably talking about the increase in serum lipid levels being reversible, because they said clearly here that there was no significant increase in any change from the time they started until they finished. So each one of these articles that we've taken away from so far, and this is after 24 months of treatment, says that the only thing that they really seen increase was serum lipid levels, that the vascular function didn't change, CRP levels didn't go up, LDL-C didn't go up. Let's see. Well, at the 12-month mark, they say LDL-C and LDL-C and LDL-C/HDL-C ratios were seen at the 3 and 12-month of the ketogenic diet treatment. The differences were not significant at 24 months either. BMI didn't show any changes, inflammation markers didn't show. So there's really the conclusion of what they did here. There was no real change of anything other than maybe some lipid changes, and that was it. So if we're looking at, the fact that somebody's saying the endothelial wall or the vascular function in general being on a ketogenic diet changed, we've looked at 3 out of 4 studies now that state obviously that studying adults and children, there's no change. It doesn't even seem to be harmful at all. So, and right now, so just to let you guys know, I'm on NCBI PubMed.gov, and I'm just on the right where it shows related articles. I'm pulling up the articles that were published there and just kind of going through it to see. And then on the next video that I do, I'm going to draw my complete conclusion on this whole thing, because some of these are going back to 2010, 2009. So this has been studied for a little while now, and they're mainly saying that there's no real change in this stuff, that there's nothing really that effective, like negative about being on the ketogenic diet in general, other than the fact that, these epileptic patients that they're treating it on, because it seems to be the only way that they can really do studies, like real deep studies on this stuff, and they're not even really that deep, is the fact that epilepsy, they know epileptic children, have to be on this type of diet if they're resistant to the medicine that they're taking, and they can study these types of people. Let's go back to, let's see here, the effect of the ketogenic diet on vascular structure and functions in, we already seen that one. Effects of comprehensive intensive therapies on change of intermediate thickness of the carotid artery in type 2 diabetic patients are reported of a 4-year follow-up with literature review. Let me see if that has anything to do. I don't know that that doesn't have anything to do with what we want with keto. So, related articles by review. Safety and tolerability of the ketogenic diet used for treatment of refractory childhood epilepsy, a systematic review of published prospective studies. Ketogenic diet for treatment of intractable epilepsy in adults, a meta-analysis of observational studies, a treatment of medical refractory, that's not it. Effect of low glycemic index treatment in epileptic patients. Well, it doesn't look like there's very much when it comes to use of the ketogenic diet to treat intractable epilepsy and mitochondrial disorders. I don't know if that's something you guys want to look at, but I'd be interested in pulling that up right now. I know we're talking about arterial thickness, but I'm only seeing like 4 of the articles that best match what I'm looking for right now, because I put it in cited by 2 PubMed Central articles. Okay, so this might be, let's look at this. Let's just compare it to something. Association of dietary pattern with carotid intima media thickness among children with overweight or obesity. I want to look at this just for the fact that I want to see what them looking at it in general would be compared to them just on a, like looking at it from a ketogenic diet standpoint, just to see exactly what pops up. Good morning. So that's kind of like where I'm at right now. Is, let's go here. This is an association of dietary pattern with carotid intima media thickness among children with overweight or obesity. I'll go ahead and link the, I hope these links are working. If not, I don't know if they're working for you. Well, I don't know if the PMID or the PMCID is what you guys need. I'm not even sure how to. Anyway, the background is, since there's no evidence demonstrating the relationship between dietary patterns and some subclinical arterial sclerosis in children and adolescents, we aimed to examine the association between dietary patterns and carotid intima media thickness in children and adolescents with overweight and obesity. Data was collected on individuals aged 6 to 13, recruited from primary schools, age and sex specific body mass index. Based on WHO criteria, dietary intake was assessed using a valid and reliable food frequency questionnaire. I'm turned off automatically, and dietary patterns were derived from factored analysis measured. The CIMT was performed by means of ultrasonography for the wall of the common carotid artery. The results was the mean standard diet age BMI zone score CMIT of the study particular 9.3 plus or minus 1.7 years, and then they give you kind of like the millimeter thickness of what they're measuring. So it says 0.403 plus or minus 0.057 is what they're looking for respectively. 3 dietary patterns identified, which accounted for 23% of the total variance, include the healthy, the traditional, and unhealthy patterns after adjusting for age, sex, pubertal status, smoking exposure, physical activity, body fat percentage, and intake of magnesium and energy. A significant inverse association was observed with the healthy dietary pattern, and whereas none were found between the CIMT and the traditional lab scores and the unhealthy dietary patterns. Results of the present study indicate that the adherence to healthy dietary pattern could prevent CIMT in children and adolescents with overweight and obesity. Furthermore, cohort design research is required to indicate or elucidate the association between dietary patterns and CM. So basically, this was a pointless for me to even read this, because it was observational, basically study done by questionnaire, which I hate doing anything about that. The association between carotid intima media thickness and individual dietary components and patterns. The correlation between dietary carotid intima, the relationship between dietary patterns. The conclusion: a Mediterranean style pattern which is high in fruits, whole grains, fiber, and olive oil, and low in saturated fat may reduce carotid arteriosclerosis development and progression. However, further research from randomized controlled trials is required to understand the association between the CIMT and the underlying mechanisms. So at least they noted something here in this study. And they were talking about a Mediterranean style pattern, which is high in fruits, which is complete BS, whole grains, fiber, and olive oil. And that's why I'm not a fan of a Mediterranean diet, because it does have such high fructose and fibers from fruit and stuff that we don't really need. So basically, I can't really find very much on the ketogenic diet and the association between endothelial wall or the thickness of the aorta changing or the carotid artery. I mean, what we did find so far is the fact that it seems to not have an effect on that which was studied. I find it very hard to believe that eating something so natural is what's going to cause arterial wall thickness, or the carotid artery or the aorta to get to a point where the thickness is changed and there's some kind of restriction there based on the type of diet that we're eating. I mean, if you're restricting anything that can cause inflammation markers to go up in general, which the root of all of the stuff that we're dealing with comes directly from inflammation first before anything can snowball from that or stream from that. So if you restrict those types of things in your diet, they cause the inflammation to go up. So why would you be worried about being on a ketogenic diet or a carnivorous diet anyway? I mean, I tell people in the beginning, if you're not wanting to be on a restrictive diet, then you go on a ketogenic diet. If you want some quick, real healing real fast, then you're going to have to start with carnivore. It's the most eliminating natural way of even doing it. If you just want to get right on it, then you move along with that by itself. You don't start adding in all the fibrous material and stuff like that from a ketogenic diet and then expect to get these amazing results right away. Last night there was a few questions that popped up in the live stream with Bart, and one of the questions was, I just quit coffee. What am I supposed to do? I'm 2 weeks in from quitting coffee and carbs, and now I have these, I'm down basically. The energy levels are all jacked up, and I'm thinking to myself, quitting coffee and the amount of detox time that it takes to come off of it could be anywhere from, a couple weeks to a couple months. A lot of people have lived off of coffee their whole entire life, and the caffeine jack with your dopamine responses and stuff like that, and the taxation on your cortisol and your adrenal glands, and then all of a sudden you just quit drinking coffee and you don't get that sensation anymore. All of a sudden you're at a standstill now with, how are you supposed to get over this? You're not going to get over it anytime soon. It's something that you're going to have to anchor yourself down and say, look, I'm going to make it through this. Before coffee, I didn't need it, and I don't need it after coffee. I just have to move myself through it. And you see all the memes and stuff pop up all over the internet about, why coffee is life, and this is what I look like when I get up, and don't talk to me before I have my coffee, and all this other stuff, which I get it. It's funny. People have lived off coffee their whole entire life, but I actually helped a lady that was dealing with some caffeine withdrawal issues, and her actually gains in the gym were going down slowly, little by little by little. And I found out that throughout the day she was working more, which required her to come up with this source of energy somehow, and she would have an extra couple cups of coffee throughout the day. And I had asked her and recommended that she quit doing that, quit drinking the coffee throughout the day. Well, how am I supposed to do this? And I said, look, it's going to suck, but what I want you to do is I want you to carry some clean water around and a little small sandwich baggie with salt in it. You're going to pinch that salt, and no, you don't have to get off coffee to be on a carnivorous diet. There's a lot of carnivores that still continue to drink coffee. I've got my cream and black coffee right here this morning, and I'll just sip on it real slow. This morning, me and Ange were out. She wanted to get a new high chair for her cousin's baby when she comes in town, and I said, you know what? It's been 3 or 4 days since I've had any coffee. I'm going to stop and get a coffee today. So I'll treat myself every once in a while. And they automatically think that you want all this cream and sugar and everything else. And I tell them, nope, just give me my black coffee. I'll put my own cream in it. Give me my black coffee and let's roll. So that's where I'm at. And you don't have to quit coffee for being on a carnivore diet. But, ideally, you would want to. I mean, that coffee is not a carnivorous diet. There's tons of carnivores that still drink coffee. But her gym gains, the lady I was working with, were going down slowly. And I said, can you just cut it out just a couple days a week? Just try it that way. She says, well, I can't come up with this extra energy that I need. And I said, you know what? The number one failure to anybody's diet is the fact that they don't have enough sodium in their diet. So, for instance, you go to the gym and you're 15, 20 minutes in and you're already fatigued to the point where you can't continue. that there is no other explanation other than the fact that your sodium levels are too low. You should not be killing it 15 to 20 minutes in, half hour in, and then all of a sudden you're ready to go home. Your sodium levels are off. Your energy levels are going to be completely depleted, because the sodium potassium cross is exactly what has to happen in order for these types of functions to keep up. If your sodium levels drop too low, your body has a way of holding on to potassium. So you probably do have enough potassium to be sufficient in what you're doing. But if your sodium levels drop too low and you're 30 minutes into your workout and you're done at that point, something's wrong with your sodium levels. That's the only way to cut it. You need to jack up your sodium levels throughout the day, so when you go to the gym, you have enough stores built up. So when you get out there, you get sweating, you get that muscle contraction, those nerves are firing and stuff, chemical signals are getting sent all over the body and stuff like that. You have enough sodium in order for the cell to open, fill itself with sodium, and then when it crosses, the sodium comes out, potassium goes in, potassium goes out, sodium goes in, sodium goes out, potassium goes in, potassium goes out, sodium goes in, and it's this constant function back and forth of the cell working. It's that chronic pump that people talk about while they're in the gym. That sodium potassium cross is that pump that you feel, and that pump is a very natural feeling. But when you lose it early and you're 15, 20, 30 minutes in, and all of a sudden you're done, you're taxed, you can't go anymore, your sodium levels are completely depleted. That's where it's at. It's not caffeine, it's not pre-workout, it's not anything else. It's the sodium levels. They're way off and they need to come way up. So there's a number of things that can happen, and a lot of people think it's caffeine or it's sugar or something like that. No, 99.9% of the time it's your sodium levels are completely off. I noticed a couple nights ago I was having problems sleeping, and I don't take magnesium. And I pulled out the little bottle of Calm I have back there that I quit taking when I went carnivore. I didn't really feel like I needed it. But I think there are some people that do need certain types of minerals that help them function better, because when I took 2 teaspoons of that Calm and a little bit of Perrier sparkling water, I slept like a baby the last 3 nights of just having some magnesium in my body that I wasn't getting from my food. I guess you get trace from some stuff, but I'm eating more steak and rarely eating any organs or anything like that. And all I did was I will cover GERD in one of my upcoming videos. I keep passing by the therapeutic ketosis. Somebody really told me they would like for me to concentrate on making a video about therapeutic ketosis, and there's a lot of things that we have wrong about that, and I want to kind of cover what that is compared to a conventional ketogenic diet, and then I want to touch on some macros and stuff like that, and then carnivorous eating, tracking versus non-tracking, what you should be doing, what you shouldn't be doing, the proper amounts of food and stuff to eat. So that will come up. There's a number of videos coming up, but just to touch on that, the sodium levels is the #1 chronic failure when people go to the gym and they're 20, 30 minutes in, and all of a sudden they're taxed. They feel like they got to go have some more energy drink or something like that. It has nothing to do with that. It's sodium levels. The sodium levels are depleted so much that your muscles are so fatigued, they don't want to fire right anymore. They just want to give up. You feel like you're exhausted and chronically tired, and you just want to go home. I'll take 1,000, 2,000 milligrams before I go to the gym, and I can go for 2 hours. That's the #1 failure. Is people are, I need to go get some total war energy, and pop this pre-workout real quick, and I can keep going. But what I want to do is, I have I want to say about 50 to 60 people, closer to the 60 mark right now, on multiple groups that want to get in carnivore just for January, just all animal products for the month of January. And but what I did find interesting that I kind of got off of is I took that magnesium, that Calm supplement, about 3 nights ago, and maybe I still got some trace magnesium still in my body, but I slept great. I wasn't sleeping very good the few nights before taking that, and then after I took it, Ange was like, "Man, you went to sleep and you slept all night." And I was like, "I know. That having being low in magnesium was really screwing me up." And I know they say we don't necessarily need it, but I think we're starting to find out more and more that we do need certain things individually that other people's don't need. Our body, our DNA, our blood types, we're all made differently. So you may not need something that I do need, that I function normal off of. And I think that's kind of where we're going with a lot of these low carb diets, high fat diets and stuff like that, is we're starting to see that people in general don't realize that the standard typical way that we would recommend and talk to people about, oh, this is what's going on, that's what's going on, is thrown out the window at this point. A lot of these carnivore and keto doctors that think they have the answer for the mass of the group throw that stuff out the window. I mean, they can give you a basis of what to look for, but a lot of us are finding that what works for Rich and what works for, Michelle, what works for Sarah, each one of them are different. Michelle might do better with 600 milligrams of Calm per night, and that's not a standard recommendation. Standard is like 350 to 400, more closer to 400. But some people are taking 600 to 800 milligrams of magnesium every day, and that's what's making them right. That's what's helping them out. Other people are reducing their fat levels on a ketogenic diet down to 60, 65%. While other people are, swearing, oh my God, you can't do that. Dr. So-and-so says it's got to be up to 80. It doesn't have to be up to 80. If that person finds that they're in ketosis at a higher level of protein and lower fat level, that's what they need to be at. That's what they're functioning great at, and that's what they're getting their results in. That's what they need to be at. There is no reason to be taking a standard 70-25 and posting that to each person saying, well, this is a ketogenic diet. That's not a keto. No, that's baloney, homie. Each person is completely different. I don't follow any kind of fat to protein ratio anymore. I just make sure I get good cuts of fatty meat, and I just enjoy it. Within the last week, I started taking that Ancestral Supplements kidney formula because it's food, basically. It's not like regular supplements. And I'm waiting to see exactly, I know it takes a little while for that stuff, but I don't eat any organs anymore. I mean, very rarely will I, but it's just a matter of where do you want to go with your journey in your life. Some people can eat up to 9,000 milligrams of sodium per day and be completely fine. Those people are pretty active for the most part. Other people are like, I get past 3,000 and I start feeling off. It's a matter of where you want to go, what you want to look at with your life. I used to think that I could give people general recommendations and that would work for them, and now I'm starting to think that over the last year that even those general recommendations are somewhat off. We were telling people have 5,000 to 6,000 milligrams of sodium when they start keto, and that's going to keep you right. And I'm starting to find actually it's probably somewhere more around 3,000 milligrams of sodium. It's a learning process. It's this constant curve and this adjustment that we keep going through. I'm finding that people's levels of sodium are off when they go to the gym and they get fatigued early. It doesn't have anything to do with food or fat or protein. It's the sodium levels. I've tried this with probably over 100 people, and it's fixed their issue every single time. Before I would go to the gym, back when I was going to the gym every single day and I would take a pre-workout, I would take 1,000 or 2,000 milligrams of sodium and dump it in my pre-workout and drink it. And I would never get fatigued. I could go for 2.5 hours and no issue at all. But I could keep that sodium out of that pre-workout, and it would keep me good for about half hour, 45 minutes. And after that, my levels would just drop off like crazy, and I would want to go home. It was the sodium that was keeping me going. I don't know. We're each individually different. And I think that's where we need to be focusing, is trying to figure out exactly what we need to do. And just to retouch on this one more time before we get out of here or off of here, is I wanted to come and set this up to you guys to talk about the association between the basically intermediate thickness, endothelial wall thickness, and just talk about how the ketogenic diet affects basically your arteries. And we're seeing that for the majority here, that there is no effect. It's not going to make you worse. If anything, it's going to make you better. And the few little topics that we did touch on, or articles that we did touch on, and I read only one of them partially correlated to young adults and children to having thickness of wall being changed. And it was just a general observational thing. It wasn't even something that was actually studied by it. So I think at that point, we can just chalk this up for right now as there's no issue. There's no real reason to be concerned with the endothelial wall thickening, the aorta having issues, our carotid artery having issues. Is if you're eating clean fuels that are not hydrogenated and they're cold pressed, good quality sources of protein, your body's going to do just fine with it. So what do you think some things that would be or should be talked about recently. I know I have to do something on therapeutic ketosis. Um, I want to do something. Let me see what we talked about here. Let me go up in the comment section. What did we talk about? I know, oh, GERD. I want to do something with GERD. I want to do something with therapeutic ketosis. I want to touch base on the types of foods that most carnivores eat. I want to do a video on a low histamine ketogenic diet. I think that if people had a proper formula or foods to eat for a low histamine ketogenic diet, they would find that they would do 10 times better on the standard ketogenic diet that we present to people now. I'm finding that the way our keto doctors, the way it's set up on most social media platforms, is exactly the way why most people are actually failing on a ketogenic diet. Inflammation levels increasing, and not only that, during certain times of year having more severe allergic reactions to things because of the amount of histamine that is in a ketogenic diet. And that's something that we don't really understand in the medical industry too much yet, is histamine mimic allergies, which also increase inflammatory reaction in the body. And with a ketogenic diet being so anti-inflammatory, we also have to look at it being high histamine. High histamine means that the inflammation markers would go up as well. So there's a lot of contradictory stuff there. If you look at what's in a ketogenic diet, a lot of the foods that we eat have very, very high histamine levels to them. So is it really a low inflammatory diet to begin with, or is it just the fact that you're restricting the processed foods, the sugars and things like that, that's causing you to lose the weight and get healthier? I think it's more along the lines of because you're cutting the junk sugars and stuff out of your body and you're eating more natural foods, but it doesn't necessarily have to do with low inflammatory reaction. I think that more and more people now are starting to find that magnesium, what is it, magnesium glycinate? I think that's the most available, most absorbable form. Let me see if I can look real quick. I think that's what it is anyway. I'm using Calm right now and it seems to be working fine, but different types of magnesium affect people differently. Let me see here. Okay. Magnesium glycinate is one of the best absorbable forms of magnesium. Magnesium capsules you can take. It's a good choice if you want to raise your levels quickly, and it's especially good choice if you get disaster pants with other forms. So basically other forms of magnesium causing you to crap yourself. Magnesium glycinate is probably one of the best forms of absorbable magnesium that your body could actually use in a safer form. Is magnesium better than magnesium? Is glycinate better than magnesium citrate? While there are many forms of magnesium available, we often prefer to use magnesium citrate and or magnesium glycinate. Magnesium citrate, to me, is not as good as magnesium glycinate, because whenever I would take magnesium citrate, it would almost run through me like water and I would have to go use the bathroom immediately. That's what most doctors will use in the magnesium citrate form that you go to Walmart and get before you're going for a colonoscopy or something like that, is they want you to drink that stuff and it'll make you crap yourself. So I don't think it really stays in your system as long as it should, and that's why I think magnesium glycinate is a better form. Is magnesium glycinate good for constipation? Often for improving digestion and preventing constipation, as it may cause loose stools or act as a natural laxative. Magnesium glycinate, the best absorbed form of magnesium, and that's coming from our ketogenic stuff, our info. And Healthline also says the same thing. Benefits, side effects, Healthline. I like Healthline. I really like the way Healthline puts out their articles, and it's really easy to read. Importance of magnesium. Magnesium is an important nutrient for the body because it's part of many important processes that help maintain health, especially your brain, your heart, your muscles. Found magnesium deficiencies to be present in approximately 50% of the people in the United States. Age, gender, physiological conditions such as pregnancy and nursing. According to the research by the American Physiology Society, magnesium supplements have been shown to help with migraine, anxiety, chronic pain, heart disease, diabetes. One of the best supplements often used for deficiency of nutrients is magnesium glycinate, which is magnesium-bound glycine. This type of supplement is very good for absorption levels. That means your body can take most of it once it's ingested immediately and used. The benefits of magnesium glycinate. Magnesium glycinate has been shown to have a variety of benefits, including the following: calming effect, relaxing, helps bring down your anxiety levels, help keeps bones strong, control blood sugar levels with people that have diabetes, decreases abnormal heart rhythms, it reduces premenstrual syndrome. Given the gentle yet beneficial effect on the body of magnesium glycinate can be used to treat a variety of conditions. According to a study published in the Journal of Pain and Relief, these include chronic pain, overall muscle flexibility, quality of life in general. Certain conditions or risks improved magnesium supplements such as fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue syndrome, risk of stroke, heart failure, diabetes, all-cause mortality. Most people in the United States consume less magnesium than they should. Dosage should be between 420 milligrams for men and 320 milligrams for women. Really, that's not very. I mean, it's close to being accurate, but it's men and women both need about 400 milligrams. I found that most women that stay low, like 300 and below, don't really get the same effect as if they take like 400 to 500 milligrams. And I think more women lately are starting to find with the types of diets they're on that's affected, especially like a ketogenic diet. So I normally tell people that what I think they should be taking is somewhere between 400 and 500 milligrams of magnesium. Most people are pretty safe right at 400. Symptoms of magnesium loss may include loss of appetite, nausea, fatigue, tingling, and muscle cramps, contractions, abnormal heart rhythms, damage to the nerve cells, which can lead to depression. Magnesium can also cause other mineral deficiencies as minerals work together, keeping the body healthy. How to use magnesium glycinate. Magnesium glycinate is available in capsules containing 120 milligram or 125 milligrams. The recommended dose is, again, 320 for women, 420 for men, which means taking up to 4 capsules unless otherwise advised. If you take 4 capsules a day, take them 2 at a time, twice a day with food and together with a B complex supplement to improve absorption. Vitamin B does help absorb magnesium. You may notice improvement in health conditions as early as a week with taking these supplements. Depending on the severity of your deficiency or your particular medical condition, it might take as long as 6 months to see results. Some drugs can cause the body to eliminate extra magnesium, which can lead to deficiencies. You're going to have to talk to your doctor to see if they mess with that. In general, excessive levels of magnesium aren't common in healthy people because the kidneys will eliminate the excess. So if you want to track your magnesium intake while taking supplements, you can take tabs on magnesium content and various foods you eat. In general, excessive levels of magnesium aren't common in healthy people because the kidneys will eliminate the excess. So if you have healthy kidneys and you're taking too much, your kidneys are going to take care of the excess anyway that your body doesn't need. Some of the symptoms of excess magnesium include hypertension, low blood pressure, nausea, vomiting, facial flushing, irregular heartbeat, difficulty breathing. Natural sources of magnesium would be fish, halibut, whole unrefined grains, which you can almost not even find that anymore, beans and lentils, seaweed, nuts and seeds such as pumpkin and sesame seeds. I love pumpkin seeds. Dark green leafy vegetables such as Swiss chard and spinach. Try to have your daily meals include fresh vegetables, and keep in mind that only 30 to 40% of the magnesium ingested from food sources is absorbed by your body. Opt for healthy oils at your local store, organic. These oils contain high concentrations of nutrients and minerals, including magnesium. Just don't eat any of the vegetable oils or seed oils. Risk of taking magnesium glycinate. Although magnesium supplementation is generally considered safe for healthy adults, be sure to take these with precaution. When choosing a supplement, always check the amount of elemental magnesium present. This information is usually present on the information label. Buy supplements from a respected source. Vitamins and supplements aren't monitored by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration. The bottom line is magnesium is an important mineral that helps your body function properly, especially your muscular system, bones, and nervous system. You can get a lot of your magnesium from your daily diet by including leafy greens, beans, lentils, seeds, and nuts. Just take the supplement if you're going to take it. If you can't get enough magnesium from diet alone, supplementation with magnesium glycinate is a gentle and efficient way of introducing magnesium into your body. There you go. Magnesium glycinate seems to be pretty darn good. What do you think about olive oil? Does it clean arteries? I think it does. I think olive oil is extremely healthy. I think if it's a cold press, what I like about olive oil is let me get this bottle over here, and I'm going to get my steak while I'm over here. So, excuse me. This olive oil has a lot code of one manufacturer, and that's what I want. I want one manufacturer being on here, and this is the Filippo Berrio extra virgin olive oil for dressing and marinade. When I look at it, I want cold pressed, which Angie bought this, so she just probably got lucky because I don't buy these small bottles like this. And I look at the bottom where it says lot code, and I want to find something that has an original origin, where it's pressed and where it comes from that place solely. Because sometimes you'll flip these bottles around, like here. This is not a good one. This is one that we got in bulk because we've used it and we like it. But this is not. It's not that it's not a good one. It's not as good as I would like. This is the big giant bottle that you get at Sam's because it seems to fit our budget. Let's just put it that way. It's the budget olive oil. Here's the part I don't like. It comes from IT, PT, ES, and TN. And if you look at what those are, you can actually look and see what charts on the back here. It'll say, you probably can't see but over here, it actually explains where the origin of this olive oil comes from. And IT means like Italy, PT means one place, ES means another place, TN means another place. That means they're getting different sources of this olive oil from all these different places to make this one container of olive oil. And then it's being shipped in giant, massive containers to Texas, and then it's being redistributed. So when I look at different types of olive oil, I want an olive oil that literally has like one, like this comes from, actually, this is not a good one either. So I didn't buy these last two. When I buy these, I don't get them. This actually says right on the back, packed in Italy with extra virgin olive oils from Greece, Italy, Portugal, Spain, and Tunisia. I don't like olive oils that specify many different places like that. I like an olive oil just from Tunisia, just from Italy, just from Spain. And if it has like a manufacturer that says this was from our olive our olive garden, our olive orchard, and they were from one source. I really like the fact that it comes from one source. I don't like the fact that it comes from multiple sources. A good quality olive oil will not have multiple sources of origins on it like that. A good quality, healthy olive oil will have, my opinion, and I think you can find this if you go look around as well. Let's actually do that while we're here. I think olive oil is very healthy. I think it does help with arterial health. I think it does help in your health overall. But it's just something that I like to do. I want some of this steak. Nah, it's good. It's rare, but it. Oh my God. Cast iron skillet, baby. Kalamata olive oil, single origin. Let's look at the best olive oil. Let's see what this says right here. The world's best olive oils. Let's see what they have to say. So one of them is Venta del Baron. Let's look at it. It's $30 a bottle for this stuff. Since 1998, Venta del Baron, included the Prigio de Cordoba, has received more than 80 awards in 8 different countries, which include the world's best olive oil by International Olive Council, Spain's best extra virgin olive oil. I want to see more pictures of it. It looks really, really, really fancy. You pay for what you get, and that's the biggest thing. Oh, let's see here. What does it say? Region? Spain. It comes from Spain. And that's it. I mean, it gives you the polyphenols, 617. The producer is Mueloliva. I like the fact that these are single producers. Like, it's going to say one producer. It comes from Spain. It doesn't have multiple origins of where it's from what I'm seeing so far. That's what I'm essentially looking for. I know it's citrate. Citrate, I took, like I said, I can't take citrate all the time because it just makes me run to the bathroom. I had the Calm. It was packed away. Thank you. The Calm was just something that I had, and it goes through you really quick. But I took it 3 days ago, and it's lasted ever since. So I can't say that like I said, magnesium affects everybody differently. This is just what I had. I wanted to see if it would help me, and actually did help me sleep. So, and it's been 3 days since I've taken it. So when I have more sleep problems, I'll take it again. But right now, if I had magnesium glycinate, I would much rather take that. But this Calm seemed to have worked. And I did use the bathroom as soon as I got up. And that's one of the things that they tell you about Calm, is like you'll go to sleep, and then when you wake up, you'll probably have to use the bathroom immediately. Let's go back. Actually, let me look at this different. Let me see. Importance. I'm going to look at it this way. Importance of olive oil origin. The olive oil tree has its roots in the Mediterranean region. Let me see here. 11 proven benefits of olive oil health line. Source of major health benefits in olive oil. I'm trying to find, there's like this really, really, really nice article that they break down the whole entire thing about looking at the back of the olive oil bottle, looking at the origins of where it comes from. It's very, very important for olive oil to come from one source instead of multiple sources like we typically get it, because you don't know what's going on with that person's. Maybe they had a bad year, maybe they had some kind of disease outbreak on in their olive trees or something like that, and they're trying, but you know, it eliminates everything down to one place, so you're not searching around for like a needle in a haystack trying to figure out where your olive oil came from and where did the problem come from. I would love to debate vegan gains. I've actually thrown it out there a few times to debate vegan gains. And Vegan Gains has often talked about even fighting people and stuff, because he says he doesn't like people calling him names. And when you don't call him names, or when you call him names, he automatically wants to fight. Well, I would love to fight Vegan Gains as well. I'm not a fighter. Like, I don't go just look for fights, but I would love to fight Vegan Gains. I was many years in combatives before the military, and then went to the military and went through advanced level combatives, and I made it up to level 3 combatives. And I would love to just go at it with this guy, for even if he beat the crap out of me. I would just love it. I mean, it would really make me happy to be able to grapple with somebody of his stature where he thinks that he's that good. So debating Vegan Gains would be great, as well as actually going straight to the mat if that's where he wanted to go. I would love to do that. I would actually, if somebody would take this video and actually send it to him, so maybe we can get something going. You know, I would even be I would be very happy to pay for part of his plane fare if he wanted to come here, and we could just kind of get a mat together and just go at it. I mean, I would love it. Absolutely love it. Debating during the match. That would really make me happy, because then he could finally say he grappled a YouTuber, and he's much taller than me as well. Stronger than me? No. By no means is he even close to as strong as me. His bench is way down. His squatting is way down. His deadlift is way down. I'm much stronger than him in all those areas by far. And then I would have to brush up on some movement, stretching, and kind of cardio stuff like that. But I would love to just go at it with this guy, and just have at it. Even if he beat me, I would love it. So he could finally say, I fought a YouTuber. So I'm looking at the different, okay, so here it is right here. The importance of olive oil origin, benefits and side effects. So that's what I'm trying to find out exactly where I found that article where they talked about the importance of origins. Culinary use, skincare. Olive oil is also a natural and safe lubricant source to be used in kitchen machinery, grinders, blenders. Good for your health, as well as it's good for lubricating moving parts. Okay. So olives are ground into paste using large millstones. Traditional method, steel drums. If ground with millstones, the olive paste generally stays under the stones for 30 to 40 minutes. A shorter grinding stone process may result in more raw paste, produces less oil, and has less ripe taste. A longer process may increase oxidation of the paste and reduce the flavor. So the longer, oh wow, that's really interesting. I just learned that for the first time. The longer that olives sit under the grinding stones when they're ground, the more it increases their oxidation, which also reduces the olive flavor. So if you get an olive oil that's strong in flavor, chances are the oxidative levels that are in it are very low, and the fact that it has less, or the fact that it has more flavor to it. So I didn't really even know that just now, because I'm looking at this article where it actually breaks down the entire process of what it takes. The modern steel drum mills and the grinding process takes about 20 minutes. After grinding, the paste stirred slowly for another 20 to 30 minutes, where the microscopic oils aggregate into bigger drops, which facilitates the mechanical extraction No. Let me see here. In modern, yeah. The paste is then processed by a centrifuge. The water is therefore separated from the oil in a second centrifuge as described. The oil produced by the oil produced by only physical mechanical means is described above is called virgin oil. When they don't use anything other than stones and centrifuge separation. And the minimal time that it's under the stone means the more flavor it has. The more flavor it has means the less oxidation it has. The less oxidation it has, it means it's more healthy for you. And this is called the virgin process of making extra virgin olive oil. So by doing this, you're actually consuming an oil that has less oxidative properties to it. And the stronger the flavor, the healthier it is. Extra virgin olive oil that satisfies specific high chemical and organic criteria, or organoleptic criteria: low free acidity, no or very little organoleptic effects or defects. The higher grade extra virgin olive oil is mostly dependent on flavorful weather conditions or drought during the flowering phase. For example, can result in a lower quality virgin olive oil. It is worth noting that the olive trees produce very well every couple years, so greater harvests occur in alternate years. The years between is mostly dependent on the favorable weather conditions. A drought during the flowering phase, for example, can result in lower quality virgin olive oil. So whenever there's more rain and there's more moisture in the soil content, the quality of the olives are higher, the flavors better. It is worth noting that olive trees produce well every couple of years, so greater harvests occur in alternate years. Okay, sometime the produced oil will be filtered to eliminate the remaining solid parts that reduce the shelf life. Labels may indicate the fact that the oils have not been filtered, suggesting a different taste. So if it's been filtered, the shelf life goes up. It can stay on the shelf longer. If it hasn't been filtered and it's raw, that means it has a very short shelf life where it's not as long. Fresh, unfiltered olive oil usually has a slightly cloudy appearance and is therefore sometimes called cloudy olive oil. This form of olive oil is used to be popular among olive oil small-scale producers, is now becoming trendy. People want more of a natural olive oil. They don't want all the other separations, filtered stuff, just like raw honey and stuff like that. In line with consumers' demand for the products that are perceived to be less processed, but generally, if not tasted or consumed soon after production, filtered olive oil should be preferred. Some producers maintain the extra virgin olive oils do not need filtration, but also that filtration is detrimental to oil quality. This point of view should be considered as erroneous and probably the result of improper implementation of this operation. In fact, fine particles that are suspended in virgin olive oil, even after the effectiveness of this centrifuge finishing, contain water and enzymes that may impair oil stability and ruin the sensory profile. Filtration makes an extra virgin olive oil more stable and also more attractive. If the suspended particles are not removed, they slowly agglomerate and flocculate, forming a deposit at the bottom of the storage container. Such deposits continue to risk the enzymatic spoilage and, in worst case, a development of anaerobic microorganisms with further spoilage and hygienic risk. Recommended that filtration be carried out as soon as possible after the centrifuge separation and finishing. So, good and bad. The oxidative levels are a lot less when it's virgin. The oxidative levels are a lot less when you got high flavor. But in order for it to be raw, unfiltered, you increase the risk of other factors that could happen inside the olive oil, because the little particles that hold on to the water and any kind of impurity that may be in there. And basically, just like people talk about high histamine levels in sardines in olive oil, that a lot of ketogenic people like to eat, and even some carnivorous people, you get this high histamine level increase when it comes to sardines and olive oil probably because some of this probably has something to do with it, and the fact that it's meat that's been sitting untouched. And as that process continues, meat, that's cooked, that's untouched, the histamine levels will increase, thus adding to the histamine levels in your body. Thus, the histamine levels in your body are already naturally being produced on its own, and then you're adding high histamine from foods on top of it, and then you almost get this allergic-like reaction. Histamine is responsible for a number of things. Histamine is responsible for stomach acid being produced. It's responsible for a number of key signals sent throughout your nervous system, the communication between your nervous system and your brain, and the movements that are going on in general. So then when you add high histamine foods such as sardines and olive oil into your diet, you're basically over flooding your system with histamine, and then you start getting the blotchy breakouts on your skin, the shortness of breath, the slow arrhythmia of the heartbeat, the digestive issues, inflammation markers go up. So there's a number of things that can be pulled along with olive oil. I think olive oil is healthy. I think it can be a good thing. It's a very clean fat fuel, but I don't actually think it's really necessary in the long run. We buy it because we do like cooking with it sometimes, but I often do not use it. I might use it in a keto recipe that I want to share with people or something like that, but that's as far as it goes. Oh yeah, I keep forgetting. I do have a steak here. I'm trying to start Carnuary or World Carnivore Month a little early. This is really good. What can I call you? What 10Ks like to pie? What is your name? What I don't know if I can just call you 10. So I'm 99.9% carnivore. But if I want to sit down to a meal with my girlfriend and she makes some, like some cauliflower mash or some broccoli mash or some kind, it's always some type of keto meal. Now, during the holidays, we will move off of our plan for the holidays. I'm not going to sit here and play like I'm this imperfect person. I still have 30, 40 pounds of fat on my body to lose. I've lost 157 so far, and I've been enjoying myself. But I'm to the point now where I'm more focused on building muscle and stuff like that and trying to grow as much as I can. But at the same time, I do have hernia surgery coming up in March. So my main focus right now is more on carnivore and fasting than anything. So I would say I'm probably maybe 95% carnivore, the other 5% keto type meals. And during the holidays, I will eat whatever the hell I want, and then I'll come off of it afterwards. But I prepare for that, though. I have my own method of preparing for holidays that I had mentioned before, and a bunch of people, including a few doctors, kind of ruffled their feathers a little bit. Why would you teach people how to do that? And I basically told them to shut the heck up and just mind their own business and let me do my thing, just like they do their thing. And a lot of them are liars and thieves anyway. So they didn't like the fact that I was teaching people how to address coming up on a holiday and preparing for that holiday, and not have that crash effect coming off. And I perfected this years ago when I started teaching people about keto and how I started losing weight. And when I started doing stuff like that, people were starting to be like, oh, we don't have to do keto the way the mainstream social media people. No, you don't. There's 1,000 different ways to do it and still do it healthy. So it's good steak. It's really good. I cooked it a little too long. I should have killed the skillet when it was on the other side a lot sooner, but it's still good. Very, very good. So to go back to Mr. Alex. I have it from Krita, always 5-liter cold pressed. Okay. So I think olive oil could be healthy. I think people could eat olive oil, no problem at all. I don't really think it's necessary. Do I think it's going to change somebody's condition? No. Could it add some energy and some good substance to fat to your life? Absolutely. I think it's heart healthy. Absolutely. Do I think it's going to be any kind of magnificent play in reversing some kind of arterial plaquing or heart health, or speed something up in any process? Absolutely not. But anyway, that's where I'm at with that. My main focus, and I want to talk about this more with Bart on our next roundtable session, which I think we'll be doing soon, is histamine intolerance and histamines. And it's what my main focus is right now, because I find that it's overlooked. None of the keto doctors are really talking about it. None of the carnivore doctors are really talking about it. Most of the doctor articles that I found on the internet, like even at the end of one of the articles, one of the doctors even clearly said, I could tell you everything that you want to hear, but at the end of the day, we have not researched histamine levels enough to know exactly what we're talking about. He just came right out and said a lot of medical providers that talk about like what they know or what they think is fact is probably not fact at all. We don't know enough about histamine to actually say anything's factual. This steak is unbelievable. Is there something else that you guys want to talk about before I get off of here? I'm going to go for a long 2-hour drive, and I'm at my girlfriend's place right now, and I'm moving in with her, but I have my own home about, I would say not 2 hours, about an hour and a half away from here. It's a small cottage home that I rent, and I'm not really happy with being there because it's like out in the middle of nowhere, and I don't really have any life out there. So I've been just kind of staying here with her, and I was, I kind of mentioned the fact that, hey, what about moving in? I'll pay the majority of the bills, and I don't have to pay for some place that I'm not happy with anymore, and her place is bigger than mine, and we could be a big old happy family, and you could get too much of me and learn everything that I learn along the way and hear all my crazy stories and stuff. And I used to do a segment on here that people got a kick out of, where I would take stories and things that have happened to me in the past, and I'll give you a little bit about me real quick, something that you probably don't know, and you guys don't know about me. Some of you do know. Some of you have been following me for years now, and a little bit about my history and where I came from. This is a little sad. I'm going to try not to tear up when I read this to you guys, but I'm going to type in 13-year-old boy, Chicago, 1999 drugs. First article that pops up. I don't even have to finish typing it in. Boy leads officers to drugs, turns in parents. Now, I'm not going to I'm going to read this to you. And this will explain some more about why I don't want to be lonely. If you are a crier, if you're sad, if anything that bad that happens to people makes you sad, I would already warn you ahead of time that this probably is going to make you sad. And then maybe over the next few weeks, I'll share a little bit more about me with you. This article, I will copy it and paste it so you guys can read along with me if you want to. Here it is now up and active on the bottom of the screen in the message chat. Boy leads officers to drugs, turns in parents. A 13-year-old boy who allegedly was beaten and stabbed by his mother. It wasn't allegedly. I have scar marks. I don't know what side. I don't know if it's this side. I think it's this side. Where, I mean, this woman literally took my head and smashed it into the end of a countertop and split my head open from my temple. I'm not sure what side it's on anymore. Yeah, it's this side here. There's a big scar. I don't know if you can see it or not, but there's a scar that goes from my eye here, and it went up into my head. And this lady had smashed my head into the side of a counter and split my head open all the way into my skull, and basically packed it full of gauze and um, no stitches, no nothing. And that scar is there to remind me for the rest of my life of what happened. But anyway, a 13-year-old boy who allegedly was beaten and stabbed by his mother turned in his parents and led authorities to a stash of guns, money, marijuana, and 17 pounds of cocaine at the family's Rogers Park apartment. Police said Wednesday it wasn't 17 pounds, it was 17 kilos, which at the time it was worth $4.5 million worth of cocaine. While taking the boy, while talking to the boy about the multiple bruises and puncture wounds throughout my body, which I have a big giant hole in my knee where she stabbed me where she actually threw a knife and it stabbed me right in my knee and it cut my knee open, went into my joint. I have bruises, big spot on my side about the size of a grapefruit where she actually swung a knife at me one day and just barely caught the surface of my skin and cut a big chunk of skin out of my side. Um, While talking to the boy about the multiple bruises and puncture wounds on his body, police learned Tuesday from him that there was a large amount of cocaine in his parents' apartment. Lieutenant John Corosha, or whatever it said, it takes a lot to come forward and turn in a parent, Corosha said. He was very courageous. Police searched the home of Kenneth Sharp, 69, and Hazel Paso, 34, in the 6300 block of North Claremont Avenue and found cocaine wrapped in bricks in a bucket in the bedroom. Corsia said they also found 20 grams of marijuana, a 9mm handgun, and a 12-gauge shotgun, he said. Sharp, the boy's stepfather, which he was not my stepfather. He was just some guy that kind of ended up in the picture somewhere when I was a kid, and I just always thought he was like a stepfather, but he wasn't. Sharp, the boy's stepfather, was charged Tuesday with 1 count of possession of a controlled substance, 1 misdemeanor count of possession of marijuana, and 2 counts of unlawful possession of a weapon. He was being held Wednesday on a $2 million bond. His wife, Paso, was charged with a misdemeanor count of domestic battery. She was released on bond Wednesday. She got domestic battery instead of child abuse, child endangerment, neglect. I mean, this woman would lock me in rooms for days on end with no food or anything other than a loaf of bread, a bucket to shit and piss in, and a gallon of water, with babies that I was taking care of. Like literally put me in a room, close the door, and latch it so I couldn't get out and be gone for days on end. The boy and his 4 siblings were placed Tuesday night with the Illinois Department of Children and Family Services. Police said they learned of the situation after the boy confided in a 17-year-old friend Tuesday that he was afraid to go home because his mother beat him. The friend called authorities, and police went Tuesday afternoon to a nearby home where they interviewed the boy. And what had happened at the time is I was homeless. I was 13 years old. I was living on the streets. I would climb over this fence and I would go up to the top of this big hill and I would sleep on top of this hill. And I ran away. I didn't want to be home anymore because I was tired of getting beat all the time. And I knew that after the multiple times that she tried to basically kill me, I was probably going to end up dying. So one day I was just standing in the dining room and I was crying and I was like, what do I do? And I kept looking at the door and there was like a deadbolt lock. There was one of them slide chain locks. There was a lock on the door handle. And I said, I can't do this. I'm going to die. So I looked at the door and I just ran to the door all at one time, unlocked the thing on the lock, clicked the deadbolt, the chain, flew open the door, and I just ran down the stairs as fast as I could. And I ran a couple blocks away and I went to the park and I hid in the park. And then after that, I just kind of learned to, I would go to Aldi's grocery store and beg for people to let me help them carry their groceries to their car so I could take the quarter out of their cart. It was one of those things where you put the quarter in the cart and you release the chain and then you could go shopping. And in order to get your quarter back, you got to put the cart back where it goes and push the little thing back and the quarter comes out. Well, I'd say, hey, could I take the quarter out of your cart? Could I have it? I'll help you carry your groceries to your car. Just to,
13-year-old boy trying to make some extra money. And I would go to the fountain in the park, and I would clean my face and stuff up every day. And then I would go ask people, can I carry your groceries? Can I do some yard work for you or whatever? And I would try to make money. And I would keep a couple quarters and stuff in my pocket all the time so I could go to the store and get some little candies or whatever. And one day I was really scared because I wasn't making any money, and I knew that I wouldn't be able to eat. So I started walking, and I walked for almost 17 hours straight, all through the day, all through the night. And then when it was late at night, I ran across this 17-year-old dude that was just standing out on the street, and he was like, "Hey, what are you doing, dude? Like, how old are you?" And I was like, "I'm 13 years old." And he's like, "You're going to get in trouble. You got curfew. You got to be in the house." And I was like, I can't go home. And he seen that I had the fresh marks all over my body and that I was really scared and crying. And he was like, "What's going on with you?" And I started talking to him, telling him everything that was happening. And he was like, "Oh my God, man, you got to call the police." So he told his mother what was going on, and his mother called the police right away. I went to the police station, and that's how this article came about. The police said they learned of the situation after the boy confided in a 17-year-old friend Tuesday that he was afraid to go home because his mother beat him. The friend called authorities, and police went Tuesday afternoon to a nearby home where they interviewed the boy. He had been battered. There were bruises about the body, and there was scabbed over pierce wound to his knee. And that's what I was talking about, where she had stabbed me in my knee. She had my face was cut open. I had bruises all over my body. And 2 or 3 months before this, the bruises that they're talking about, she had laid me over the bed and pulled a belt with studs, big metal studs, out of the closet. And she told me to strip naked and lay over the bed. She was all coked out. And I took all my clothes off and I laid across the end of the bed, and she beat me for an hour and a half to 2 hours until there was blood coming out of my back, my legs, my ass. I had bruises all over my body, and I literally had to recover on my belly, laying in my bed. It took months, and then that's the bruises and stuff that they seen all over my body. He had been battered. There were bruises about the body, and there was a scabbed over pierce wound to his knee. Police said the boy told them that he had not been in school in 3 years. While being interviewed by the police, Korsia, whatever his name is, said the boy said his stepfather was in possession of a lot of cocaine and weapons, that he could direct them to where they were located in the apartment. When the officers went to the apartment, police said Paso denied that the boy had been abused or that there were drugs in the house, but she gave written consent to search the 3-bedroom apartment, and police found the cocaine, money, and guns where the boy had said that they were. Police took Paso into custody first. Several officers waited for Sharp to return from work and then took him into custody. Neighbors described the boy as a nice kid who appeared to be overworked by his parents and often made excuses about the bruises on his body. Whenever I'd confront him about the bruises, he would say it happened at school, said David Lukowski, a neighbor. He was the upstairs neighbor that could always hear them beating me. And I would never tell him what was going on. I would always lie. The boy often was seen on the street alone, toting bags of groceries and doing the family's laundry. I would go to the grocery store at 8, 9, 10, 11 years old, and I would be shopping for an entire family of people. There were 2 other boys and 2 other girls in the house that were her kids. And the reason I got treated like I did was because I was not her kid. She would leave the bills on the table, and there would be money and stuff on it. And she would say, "Go to the currency exchange and go drop off the electric bill and pay it, and bring me back the change and put it right here on the table." So I go take the bills to the currency exchange, and I go pay our electric bill and the gas bill and stuff like that. And I would bring 10, 11 years old, 9 years old. And they called me the little man. My nickname was Opie. They would be like, "Hey, Opie Taylor," from the Andy Griffith Show. And I looked like him with my little red freckles and red hair back then. And they would call me Little Man. And because of, they would always see me taking the laundry across the street, at 11 years old to go wash the laundry. And I would take loads and loads of laundry over there and fold everything. And people would see me doing this, but they would never think to call or say, "What's going on with this kid? Why is he always doing this stuff?" The boy often was seen on the street alone, toting grocery bags home and doing the family's laundry, Lukowski said. Pasa was the mother of all 5 children. She was not my mother, I found out, but I thought she was. She was not. Pasa was the mother of all 5 children who were living in the home, 3 boys ages 5, 10, and 13, and 2 girls 4 and 12. Said DCFS spokeswoman Dolores Walton. Only the 2 youngest ones are Sharp's biological children, Walton said. So the younger boy and younger girl were the old man in this article. They were his kids. And at 69 years old, he got her pregnant. And who he was the right-hand man to her grandfather, which she had a kid by her grandfather as well. And he was the right-hand man to him. And he was like, he was the shot caller. Whenever something had to be done, if somebody had to be hurt, drugs had to be transported, that old man was the one that gave the call to the different people that would do everything. It was like an Irish mafia ring. They were getting their drugs out of Juarez, Mexico, and they were transporting them up through the center of the United States, through like Arkansas, Kentucky, Tennessee, Alabama, kind of bringing it up that way, and then bringing it across Louisiana into Alabama. And they kind of coming up north, they had a specific path they liked to travel, and that's how they would transport everything. Anyway, Paso is the mother of all 5 children. She's not my mom. I found out after I went to the police that the guy I thought was my father was not my father, and the one I thought was my mother was not my mother. DCFS is keeping the children at the emergency reception center while preparing to place them in foster care, she said, adding no relatives came forward to take care of the children. DCFS had no prior involvement with the family. All the children were examined at the area hospital and released. Walton said none of the other children showed signs of physical abuse, only me. I was the only one that ever got beaten and hit. And I later come to find out that this woman was actually my aunt by marriage. What had happened was my grandparents died, which if you guys are interested in this, I'll tell you later on about all this. But what happened was my grandparents died when I was younger, and they had custody of me. And when they died, the only people that were left were my aunts and uncles, because my mother was out of the picture then. And they basically got custody of me because my grandparents convinced the court that my mother wasn't fit to take care of us. So she moved on with her life, and my grandparents took me. Back then, if you had a little bit of money, you could make the legal system do anything. I mean, you still can now, but back then it was like 10 times easier. And they just threw a little bit of extra money the lawyers' ways, and they made it happen. So my mom moved on with her life, and then my grandparents kind of raised us and raised me. And then about a year later, she ended up pregnant again with my sister Gracie. And Gracie, at the time, my mom wasn't doing so good. She was actually on drugs and stuff like that. So Gracie ended up getting adopted by my grandparents as well. And then shortly after that, one of them passed away, and then the other one passed away, and then my aunts and uncles are all fighting about who's going to get custody of me. And my uncle Terry and Marie, this woman in the article, it was his girlfriend at the time, had got custody of me. And that's basically how it started. And then, a couple of years later, my uncle split and left me with her. And Gracie got adopted out to another family, a really nice professor. Him and his wife are professors at a college, and they had, really good money, really nice home, really nice cars and stuff like that. And they adopted her. And basically DCFS back in the day, forced her to let Gracie go to an adoptive home, because they had one of the neighbors had reported about the finger bruises that were all over her body where she used to get grabbed and they would hurt her. She was my best friend. I remember back when we were kids, playing school together, and I lost her to these people. I didn't know what we were doing. We would go on the weekends and meet these people, and these people were all so lovey-dovey to her, but they weren't to me. And I was like, well, why can't I get some love, basically. And eventually, after a few visits, they took her, and I'd never seen her again. I didn't see her again until she was 15 years old, and I think I was 16. And I had already, basically at 13 years old, I went to the police. I went into foster care. That's where this article was leading up to. I went into foster care, and my mother was Miss Gloria Jean Johnson. She was an African-American lady. She raised me as her own kid. I lived in an all-black neighborhood, and I went to a black school. my brothers and sisters now were African American. I was the only white boy living in the entire area. It's a very, very, very bad area. If you know anything about Chicago, you'll find that 63rd and Green in Chicago, there's no white people. And the police don't even like going down our street. And my foster mother was the head of the precinct. She's the CAPS captain, basically, the neighborhood watch lady. And she would at least try to do something for the neighborhood to keep the crime down, but it didn't matter. I mean, I remember at 14 years old living in her home, sitting in my living room, looking out the window and watching a girl literally get raped right in the street. Car pulled up, 2 guys jumped out, beat this girl to the ground, took her clothes off and raped her right there in front of me. I mean, what could I do? There was nothing I could do. The cops didn't even like coming down our street because it was so bad. They would shoot at the cops. They would attack the cops. And it was just a bad area for somebody like me to be because I didn't fit in completely. But this lady loved me as I was her own kid. I mean, she'll wake me up every morning with grits and biscuits and ham hocks and malls or greens for dinner and stuff like that. Chitlins, all kinds of stuff. I mean, just I could walk home from school that was only 2 or 3 blocks away, Hubbard Elementary School, and I could smell the food coming from the house. And she just loved kids. It didn't matter what color you was. She would take care of you just as you were her own. But I was an emergency placement, so they put me in her home. And I remember her calling her son, which was in the Navy at the time, and he was off the coast. He was outside of California on a vessel. And he called her and he said, "Mama, you got that white boy, that foster kid? Are you taking care of him? Is he okay there?" And he was really concerned for me because he was like, "I want this kid to be safe, but is that the right place? You know, with my mama in the hood, basically where the cops don't even want to go." We had drug houses on each end of the street where you could watch people walk in that home and come out with drugs and do it in broad daylight. The cops would never do nothing about it. So that only lasted a while, and they were really scared for my safety being around there. That's where I got into my first fight. I was coming back from school, and because I was the new kid, there always has to be somebody to test you. Scooter was his name. They called him Scooter. That was his hood name or whatever. They thought it was cool. And he would always walk around with 4 or 5 of his friends all the time, and I'm walking home by myself. And this boy comes up to me and says, "Hey, Scooter's looking for you." And I said, "Okay, what does he want?" And he said, "Well, he wants to fight you. You're the new kid. He's the one that's the boss around here and stuff." And I had never fought nobody before. I had fought before, but not like that kind of fight. I'm walking down the street, and I turned the corner, and there he was with 4 of his friends. And they surrounded me right on the corner. And I was only like a half a block from the house. And I'm thinking to myself, man, why couldn't I have just made it home? I'm about to get beat up by these dudes. And I was like, just face it. So there was an old black man sitting on the porch, and he come down off the porch, and he said, okay, we're going to do this the right way. Somebody's going to get their butt whooped, and then we're going home. Whoever it is, I don't know, but the 4 of you boys better step away." And he made those other 4 boys back off and let me fight him one-on-one. He said, "We're just going to get this over with right now. It's going to be one-on-one, and it's going to be done. And one's going to go home, and the other one's going to go home, and we're not going to see this every day." So I knew not to hit him first. And I let this dude hit me right in the mouth. And he hit me in the mouth. And to this day, I thought that was probably the stupidest thing that I ever did, because if I know I'm about to get into a fight with somebody, I'm about to blast your teeth out of your mouth. I'm not going to wait to take the first hit no more, because that hurt. And I let him hit me in the mouth first, and blood started coming out of my mouth. And it was something inside me, all those years of being beat and pent up rage and stuff like that. I mean, I just come back and I just pulled from the hip, and I just clocked this dude right in the side of his eye, knocked him out. He's laying on the damn ground. All his friends are going crazy. Damn, he got knocked out. The old black man standing over everybody. He kind of put his arms out. Hey, stay back. We get him up. So we got him up, and he wants to keep fighting. And he got me a couple good times, busted my nose and bleeded out my nose. And I hit him a few good times, got him in the belly and kind of knocked the breath out of him. And then I hit him right in the same spot again, and he was done at that point, just laying on the ground, laying on his back, kind of seeing the little canaries and stuff. And that's when I woke up and I started fighting for myself. that's when I quit letting people walk all over me and do things, and I became a different person at that point, basically. So I went home. My mom found out what happened about it. She didn't yell at me or anything. She said, "You did what you had to do. You couldn't run away and then get it beat up by all them boys. You stood your ground and you came out as the victor, and don't do that again." She said, "You did what you had to do, but don't go looking for no problems. You be that boy's friend now." And sure enough, the next day in school, me and him shaking hands with each other, and he was like, "Man, I'm sorry. I didn't try to test you like that or anything. We're friends. We're cool. You want to play basketball after school?" And we went out and we played basketball after school. And I learned to live in a community and learn to be different than everybody else and be okay with that. And the stereotypical views that we have on black versus white and all this other stuff did not happen there. I did not get treated differently than anybody else, and I was living in the worst of the worst that you could live in, and I was treated just like anybody else. My skin color was no different. The way I talked was no different. The way I acted was no different. I was treated just like anybody else was. Nobody called me racist names or anything like that. And I think because of the awkward situation of me being there, they had people understood that this is probably very, very, very difficult for this person to be in a situation that he doesn't belong in at all. So I think that was the standard to why people really knew um, that my life was different than theirs. And they just respected me for that and treated me just like their friend. I would go over to people's houses on the street, even with gang stuff going on and everything else. I walk down the street no matter what. You got one end of the block, people shooting at each other. I'm walking down the street just to go hang out with, Frank. We're gonna go play video games or go down to the basketball court and play basketball. And I started playing the clarinet, the saxophone, percussion. My mom really got me in a lot of good stuff, and still to this day I call her mom. Um, she's a she's a wonderful woman, and people are like, "Your mom's black," and I'm like, "Yeah, my mom is black. I have two moms. I have obviously my birth mom. She's somewhere. I talked to her a couple of times, but that's for down the road some other time. But I ended up getting moved out to another home because of how serious it was there, and I went to another family, Stanley Stanzik and Antoinette Stanzik. They lived in a really nice kind of higher end middle class area in suburbia, and very, very good white family, very nice jobs and stuff like that. And I would love to tell you guys about them in the future. And I'm sorry this video has went to this. I didn't know this was going to happen. Sometimes I just roll, and whatever happens into the videos after I cover what I cover it happens, because a lot of my subscribers want to know more about me, and sometimes I'm scared to tell them the things that have happened to me, because I don't I don't know how people are going to take this stuff. A lot of people go their whole life and they never even experience anything like this. They don't even know what it's like to be in these types of situations. And some people say, "I'm glad you talked about it, because I thought I was the only one that dealt with anything like that. I was beat as a kid. I was in an uncomfortable situation." So there are so many different ways that I could relate to people with what has happened to me in my life to help them through things in their life. And keto and carnivore is just one of them. That's the benefit or the glory of being able to grow up and move past all the bad things that have happened to you and not become a statistic in society. And that was the thing. I didn't want to be like everybody else. I wanted to be my own person and be successful. And now here I am, after the military and everything else, a successful mechanic with a college-ish degree, and 440 certifications. I made it. I made it out of all that. And I was in 9 different foster homes before 17 years old. And I finally just couldn't take moving around anymore, and then getting attached to families and then moving on and getting attached to families and moving on. I got to a point where I was just like, at 17 years old, I found that, hello, thank you for being here. And I'm glad to share my story. I couldn't take being moved to many homes. So I thought to myself, you know what? Just go be your own adult. Go try to start your own life and maybe make your own family. And at 17 years old, I went to Catholic Charities, DCFS, and I said, I want to drop out of school. I want to be my own adult. I don't want to keep moving from home to home. I don't think it's fair to me. And I went and got a job as a janitor at the YMCA from midnight to like 5 o'clock in the morning. And then I started working construction with a company called Innovative Insulation, Innovative Insulation out of Limestone, Illinois. And I became a crew leader. And I had about 8 Hispanic guys that would come with me, and I would go prep new homes for cellulose insulation, venting their attics, putting in or prepping new homes for walls and stuff to be put up where insulation has to go in first. I learned a trade early on. I learned to be somebody early on. And I would work from midnight till 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, cleaning as a janitor for the YMCA, cleaning the floors, the towels, the shower rooms, the locker rooms. And then they eventually asked me, would you like to be a manager of our rock wall? You're very good with the kids. You're very good with people. We want to move you out of the janitorial phase, and we want to make you like a supervisor, basically, not really so much manager of our belaying rock walls. You're going to be in charge. And at that point, I was going to the gym a lot. I was getting bigger and stronger. And they said, we need somebody strong in that area because you have to be hooked up to people while they're on these walls. And you have the discipline and the drive that it takes to keep everything in order. So I took it, and I moved myself up from being a janitor to doing that a couple of days a week, as well as working construction. And then my old foster father, he came along. He presented me when I was 18 years old. He said, would you like to be my supervisor at the Chicago Tribune? You'll have to get up early in the morning, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, and you'll go in and you'll open the business up, and you'll have about 13, 14 people that you're in charge of. And what you'll do every day is you'll come in and you'll download all the new subscribers to the newspaper route. You'll look at any of the complaints that are filed that corporate has put in the computer. You're going to have to try to figure out how you're going to fix those complaints, whether it be go out to the people's home and replace the flower pots that were broken. So when the newspaper person threw the newspaper up there, they may have hit the pot and broke it. They may have thrown it on the roof instead by accident, not wanting to get out of the car, trying to chuck it up at the porch, but it goes on the roof. You're going to have to get a ladder, go out there, get it off the roof, give them a new paper, rectify the situation somehow. And then, about 2:30, after you download everything and you get everybody's routes printed out and put in their mailboxes for the morning, you're going to have to get out on the floor. People are going to start coming into work. You're going to have to see who shows up, who doesn't show up. You might have some young kid that's 18, 19 years old that shows up to do his newspaper route and he's drunk. So you're going to have to decide at that point whether or not you want to fire him, whether or not you want to send him home and let him stay, because you're going to have to go out and run the route yourself. Or you may have somebody around that has a small enough route that they could get everything delivered before the people wake up in the morning, the newspapers. And it was an experience for me because I had to pay these people. I had to fire these people. I had to go run the routes myself. I had my first experience at 18 years old on what it took to manage and be in charge of something. So I went from the extreme of having no life at all to being thrown into, here's everything that you can handle at 18 years old that somebody 30 years old probably never even experienced. And, one day I got into the computer system and I was looking at all the finances and stuff, and I could say, man, you're making all this money and stuff off of me, but you're only paying me $800 a week. Sometimes I make $800 a week. Sometimes I make up to $900 a week. I haven't had a raise since I started working for you. And this is a couple of years later. And he said, well, it's like this. You're 19 years old. You bring home more money than most men do at 19 years old. And I'm saying 900 cash at the end of the week. And he said, so I'm not giving you a raise right now. I need you to be here with me longer before I do that. I said, well, then I'm going to go join the military. I'm not going to stay here. I'm not going to do all your dirty work and you not even have to come in, and this is what you're paying me. I want more money. He said, well, I'm not going to give it to you. And I said, well, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go join the military. And remember, I had dropped out of school. And I think it was in my end of my junior year when I dropped out, and I went to the military, and I walk into the recruiting station. It was down in Bradley, Illinois, and I walk into the recruiting station. And I see the Navy there, the Air Force is there, the Army's there, the Marines are there, and I said, man, I want to be a Marine. Marines are where it's at, man. Those guys are strong. Those guys are tough. So I walk into the Marine office, and there's this grunt standing in front of me, and he looks pretty intimidating. And he stands up in front of his desk, and he looks at me, and he says, how can I help you? I said, I was looking to possibly join the military. And he said, you mean join the Marines? And I said, yes, sir. And he said, sir. And I said, yes, join the Marines. And he said, sit down. Well, I sat down, and he said, what do you want out of this? And I said, well, I'd like to go to college and stuff as well. And I hear you guys help with all that. And he said, college? You came here to go to college, or did you come here to be a Marine? And he starts kind of like raising his voice and yelling at me. And I said, well, I mean, I want to go to college, but I also want to be a Marine. And he said, well, what is it first? And I said, well, really, my focus is on my life and becoming smart. So if I have to be a Marine to go to college, that's what I'd like to do. And he said, boy, you came here to be a Marine. Let me get that through your head. And he starts getting tough with me and stuff like that. And I stood up in the middle of our conversation, and I walked right out of the office. I walked right out the door and went right down the hall. I went to the Air Force, and talking to the lady at the Air Force thing, and she said, well, you got to do some testing and stuff like that to see if you even qualify. And she said, what I have some concern with is your height, weight. She said, you're a very big, strong guy, and in the military, you're going to have to pass certain standards and stuff like that. And I immediately was turned off by this conversation. The reason I had started lifting weights and getting so big is because of all the bad things that have happened to me in my life before. I wanted to make sure that nobody could ever do those things again. So I just would lift weights nonstop all the time and try to get as strong as I possibly could. And it was working at a young age. So I left her office immediately. And as I was walking out, I was kind of discouraged. And I said, man, I'm about to walk out of here, and I'm not going to come back. These people are freaking crazy. So as I'm walking out of the door, I hear this nice soft voice come out of the Army office. And she says, hey, where are you going? And I turn around, there's this pretty Dominican girl behind me. She's all dressed up in her Army recruiter outfit and stuff like that. And I turn around and say, well, I thought about joining the Marines or the Air Force or Navy or something, but these people here are crazy. And she said, she's laughing. She says, come on, come in here, talk to me. And I sit down at her desk, and she's this gorgeous girl. And she says, so what do you want to get out of this? Are you looking for any specific job? I said, ma'am, I just want to go to school, and I know the military helps with that, but I also want to serve in the military. I think it's time for me to do this. And previous to this, I had gotten to a few bouts of street racing. And I kind of opened up to her a little bit. And I said, well, I got a couple cars, and I started working on cars back when I was 15, 16 years old in foster care. And I said, I got in a little trouble where I kind of sped away and ran from the cops a couple too many times, and finally they caught me. So I've got like $6,000 in fines that I got to pay off, but all street racing stuff, never theft, never beating anybody up, none of that. And I said, I'm going to lose my license if I don't pay these fines, and I'd like to go to the military. One of the things that I told the judge I was going to do when I quit my job was I was going to, enlist in the military. And he had told me one of the conditional offers, he would drop everything, and I would just have to pay my fines. I would get no felonies, no nothing, because it was all stupid street racing stuff. At 1 o'clock in the morning, we would go street racing when there was no cars on the road. And one of the things was the judge said, I'll let you go. I'll drop all your charges. You'll have no record at all. And young man your age that hasn't really ever done any real crime, if you want to join the military, I'll wipe all this out. I'll make all this disappear, and you'll never even see this again if you do what you say you really want to do. It wasn't an offer they were giving me, like forcing me to go to the military. It was something I brought up. And I said, if I lose my license, how is it going to affect me getting into the military? And the judge was like, oh, you want to join the military? Well, that's different now. We can talk different terms, and we can make a lot of this go away if you join. If you do what you say you're going to do, and you say enlist for at least a minimum 3 years, I'll wipe all this out. So I knew I really needed to go. I needed to just kind of straighten up the path that I was kind of going as I started to grow older and make these extra curricular activities a pattern of my life, like street racing. And the Army recruiter, she helped me with all that. She helped me get back in school. She helped me get my GED. They were so impressed with how I did in my GED classes. I had 40 hours community service for the street racing that I had to do as well as a conditional offer. At the Kankakee Community College, they were like, how do you pick up on this social studies and this math and stuff so easy? And I was like, I just go home and I just study. I take all the books home with me and I just read them and I keep studying and I write everything down. And she said, but the thing is, you're actually better than a lot of the teachers here at helping other students. I've seen you interact with people. And I said, well, it's just something I really like to do. I like to teach people. I like to help people. And she said, have you been through like a bad childhood or something? Like, I said, that's exactly the reason why I like doing it. I don't want other people to have to go through their life not knowing or not having help. She said, I said, I have this community service stuff I have to do. Could I help you as like your helper at the college, like on, a couple hours a week or something like that to work this community service off? And she said, absolutely. Well, after the first time that I was there, she had walked away while she went to the bathroom and she went to get some lunch. She left me in the class. And I was helping some people with math. And there was, I forget exactly how it went back then, but there were like 2 or 3 students that were really struggling with division and how to do everything. So I went up to the board and I said, I closed the door because I didn't want anybody to hear me because I knew I probably shouldn't have been doing it. I erased everything that was on the board and I said, look, can I teach you how I learned? And then maybe you can adapt it your way. And I went up to the board and I started doing the division on the board like the easy way that I learned how to do it. And by the time I was done, all the students that were struggling to figure out how to do everything started catching on. And they were like, hey, can you do it again? Can we do like a different problem? So I threw a different problem up on the board. And I said, hey, Sarah. Her name was, what was her name? Sarah Miller or Sarah Harris or something like that. I remember a couple names. And I said, Sarah, why don't you come up to the board and you write on the board and I'll stay here with you while you do it. She come up to the board and she did it no problem at all. And then another student wanted to try and another student wanted to try. Well, they were all getting it. So when the teacher came back and she seen all the different equations on the board and she said, wow, I don't even really need to be here. She said, I can go next door and take half the students that aren't struggling with the math and I can take them over there and teach them, brush them up on the social studies and other things that needed to be done so they could practice for their GED test. And the school allowed me to do my community service there and help teach the students. And that was the start of me actually wanting to really help people and teach people things. So when I went into the military, that's what I did a lot in the beginning of the military too. I started researching. I was really big into like male anatomy, female anatomy. I wanted to know more about hormone levels. I wanted to know more about sexual education, things that I was never taught as a child. So I would watch all these videos and I would read all these books and stuff, and they weren't nasty videos and stuff. It was educational videos. And then I started getting to the point where I started going to these classes, these adult classes. And yes, it was stuff that was done live and everything else. And there were things that I kind of learned along the way that I never knew about before. I was so shy around this stuff, and I started letting this. It was a voyeuristic couple down in Louisiana that would hold educational classes at their home, and they would teach you about all these different things. So when I went to Iraq, this is like 2007. We left November 27, 2007. So in Iraq, the whole entire time that I was there, I would write up these articles and stuff on what I would find about where the different parts of the body are, how they function, how hormone levels and stuff interacted, how my eating patterns. I noticed that I would start to adjust and like different things would fluctuate and change. And I went on an almost all animal-based diet. I started consuming almost all meat and fat and protein levels. And I would probably spend $400 or $500 a month on supplementation. Because back then I was in the gym every single day, and I became huge. I was like 260 pounds at my heaviest, competing against the military or different, like the Marines, the Air Force, on our base in Iraq, and I became very, very, very big. I was to the point where I flew into Ireland, and then I flew into Kuwait, and then flew into Baghdad. We flew into Baghdad and then picked up from Baghdad. We took a Chinook to Falcon, and we flew in Map of the Earth on Chinooks, which that was my first time ever in a helicopter. And if you don't know what Map of the Earth is, uh, it's pretty interesting. You get in a Chinook and you take off fully loaded, and you're flying Map of the Earth, because when you're getting pop shots and things are hitting the side of the plane and everything else, and you can see tracers flying through the sky, you're flying really low to the buildings, and you're just cruising up and down, and it's very fast, and it's almost sickening to the stomach. So I was in south of a province called Dora, Adamia, and I was on Falcon from 2007 to 2009, and I just studied as much as I possibly could about female anatomy, male anatomy, human anatomy. And then I kind of gave it up for a little while and came back to it. And then in the middle of 2008, I got hurt, and BIOP. I remember exactly where BIOP was. Shannon, Camp, I know where all those are. Shannon, Camp Buring, BIOP, Liberty. Anyway, I just got to the point where I was really, really interested in trying to be as strong as I possibly could and train as much as I possibly could. And I knew this carnivore style diet is exactly, and it was super dirty. I would go to our DFAC and I would take multiple white foam containers, and I would grab as many steaks as I could and throw it in there. I'd grab, sausages and bacon and all this, and I would just cram it full. But I started taking animal stack vitamins. And animal stack vitamins, they have such high vitamin count that I didn't need to take any other vitamins. I'm talking thousands and thousands of IUs of all these vitamins while I was working out, 2.5 hours a day. People thought I was on steroids. They wanted to test me for it, but there was nothing that I was doing. I was just taking whey protein, isolate pre, post, casein before bed, or casein before bed, and I was eating a ton of meat and fat. And that's how I grew. That's how I was getting as big and as fast as I possibly could. And then I got hurt. I was injured in a small accident, tore out my ACL, my MCL. My right knee got damaged a little bit. They let me finish out the rest of the deployment. I ended up getting dysentery. It's like an amoebic dysentery from bacteria from fecal matter seeping out onto the ground and stuff like that. And it almost killed me. So I think that's part of why my digestion is so screwed up, and my bacteria and stuff, like why it was back in the day. I've recovered from 90% of it now, but it's still not perfect. Even on keto, I used to end up in the hospital with blood and stuff in my stool until I went carnivore completely. And once I went carnivore, all that stuff stopped. The military still to this day they don't know what happened to me, other than the fact that I was out in the rain. The first time it rained after 10 months, I got this bacteria infection that almost took me down. And, here I am today after all these years later. It's just, it's kind of wild where life takes you, and where life drives you, and where you end up, and how you can be a part of somebody else's life, and how you can be some kind of influencer to people. And that's one of the reasons why I don't like listening to a lot of the doctors and stuff that we follow. It's one of the reasons why I don't like listening to a lot of the people that we listen to on social media, because I know they're not out for people's well-being. They're not out for people's health. They're out for people's money. And they have a great message, and they learn how to be super sincere about things and make you melt in their hands. And then you become so addicted to them that when one person says something bad, you don't believe it, because you believe how sincere and how caring they are, when it's all a show. I can tell you right now, if you think one of these social media figures really are out 100% for your well-being, and they really care about you, and you're so addicted to them to the point where you believe everything that they say, you got a problem. I learned that a long time ago. You need to find normal people that will drive hard, will try to be a part of your life and not let you down. That's the people that I would be coexisting with. That's the people that I would be trying to make my friend, that I would put my time and effort into, not some big social media star where every time somebody's got a question, you want to go back to Dr. So-and-so's information and share it, or this person and share it. They're not in it for you. They do not care about you. You are just another number to them that is receiving the mass message, and you're personalizing it like it belongs to you. They do not care about you. You need to find normal people that care about you, that can have a relationship with you. There are big name people that I really like. Like, I love Maria Emmerich. I love Craig Emmerich. I love Dr. Eric Westman. Dr. Ron Rosedale, Dr. Stephen Feeney, and Dr. Jeff Volek. Yeah, many got crud in the sandbox. Many got crud in the sandbox, blood in the stool. We were told more water. And that's what the military would use to like fix everything. If you were sick, if you were cramping, whatever it was, more water, more water, more water. When little did they know that more water was sometimes causing more of an issue than what it was worth. I was not a favorite in the military, because even in the military, I would stand up for myself. I actually, I made my corporal stripes, went to the promotion board, made it past the promotion board, but wasn't able to be put into a sergeant slot because there were too many people with my MOS in my company that had that slot, and they had no more room for a sergeant slot. So while we were training, one of the sergeants that was kind of over me said something negative to me. I used to have this vitamin deficiency where I had these warts around my fingernail, and he kept doing it and doing it and doing it, and it was making me insecure. And finally, one of the staff sergeants had heard him say something one time. He came up to me and he said, "Hey, why don't you report that guy? Why don't you get some kind of formal report on him so this can stop? Because he's going to keep doing it until you do something about it." And I told him, I said, "I just like to whoop his ass." Just in combatives, I had trained my ass off when I was in the military in combatives. Like, anytime we could go fight, go to the pit, the rubber pit, do extra training down at the gym, I was always with these guys that were way more knowledgeable than me. And then I got to the point where I became addicted to it. It was weightlifting and training combatives. And in the beginning, I would get these military guys that have been doing it for years. They're really good at this combative stuff, a lot better than what you see conventionally. Some of these guys, trained for their life. And I would get the hell beat out of me by these guys. And it got to the point where we were actually hitting each other, along with throwing each other to the mat and stuff like that. I would get beat so bad sometimes that I didn't want to function the next couple of days, but I loved doing it. And we just kept training and training and training and training. And I got very, 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 very good at it. And it got to the point where I was able to learn how to use my strength along with my combatives techniques to my advantage. And then I quit losing. I went like 37 fights in a row or something without losing anything. And then one prior service guy came up right at the end and beat me my last fight. He put me in an armbar almost immediately because he was almost matched with my strength, but he was a little bit more slender than me, and he knew how to use it better because he had so many more years of service in, and he beat me in like 45 seconds. I was done. So, you're not going to be the best at everything forever. But, whenever the military would see that you were throwing up or didn't feel good or cramping, drink water, drink water, drink water is what they say, drink water, and then you drink water. And we would do what we were told, but that would make a lot of the situation worse sometimes too. So it's an experience in life. Just take it one day at a time. And anyway, that's my story, guys. I mean, that's some of it. It's nowhere near close to anything. And if it's something that you guys would be interested in hearing in bits and pieces, I'd love to share it. But that's the gist of me, and that's where I'm at today. And that's probably why I'm able to help and relate to so many people. Been married and divorced. I found out she used me for citizenship. Took $27,000 in the process. I've lost everything 4 times, and now I'm at a stable place in my life where I'm just winning constantly now. Just be open to people. Don't lie. Don't hold any secrets. Be there for them and try to do the best that you can for them. And people will like you for who you are. There's a lot of people that don't like me. I'm a Republican. I like my president. I don't care. We can all coexist with each other and not have to fight with each other, even if we have different beliefs. I just find that that the more real you are, even if people don't like you, the more you're going to get ahead. It may take longer than you think it should, but you'll get ahead much further. And I think that's why it's taken me so long for people to actually start realizing that I'm as real as it gets. If you want help, I'm going to help you. If you want somebody to be there for you, I'm going to be there for you. But if you want somebody to stroke your feelings and tell you everything's going to be okay all the time, if it's the right thing to do, I'll do it. But if it's just some frou-frou, cookie cutter, social media, butterfly, keto doctor stuff, I'm going to tell you it's not going to happen. I'm going to just give it to you straight, and you're going to get it that way, and that's how it is. So I'm going to go do my stuff that I got to do at my place, and I'm going to get off of here. I'm sorry for holding you guys up so long. I hope that maybe this explains a little bit more about who I am and why I am the way I am and why I do what I do. And I hope that we can get along and continue to get to know each other and eventually feel like your family. So I'm going to get off of here, and I appreciate you guys. If you have any last questions, I'm going to try to eat these last couple bites of steak, and I'll stay up right now. If there's any questions for me that you have, or if you have any ideas on what I should be talking about soon, just let me know. I want to eat my food, really. What's your name? Bap Bap in our channel. What's your name? So whenever we're talking, I can try to remember. If you don't want to tell me, you don't have to. I'll just call you Bap. Thank you, Mr. Alex. You as well. Eggs with bacon is probably one of my favorites. My favorite keto food is probably my keto pizza. I probably make the best keto pizza, I think, out of anybody. I've tried all the different recipes. I'm gonna have to look at your channel. I don't even know if I've looked at your channel yet. I'm not sure why I haven't, but I apologize. You know that vegan tried to dox me. They Matt Pryor or whatever his name from Veg Heads restaurant in the UK tried calling up my employer and letting him know what I do in my free time, trying to get me fired. I'm talking about BAP Alex. I see right here. Look at his name. They got a channel. Oh, I see. I see. Okay. Alex, why don't you have a channel? You should have a channel. Everybody should have a channel. Get your information and your voice out there. I love that. I love what you said right there. I just seen that. BAP. That's really, really smart. So, 2 bites left. I'm going to end the broadcast. 1 left. Oh, wait a second. I forgot you could do this on the channel as well. What's one thing that you don't agree with that I say that you would mind conversing about? I noticed there's somebody that doesn't like what I say. And every time they're on one of my videos, when the video is done, I'm getting the same person like almost every single video that does like a thumbs down, thumbs down, thumbs down, thumbs down. And it's not even really that big a deal because I don't really care. But I just wonder who it is. Coffee for the long ride. I love it when people don't agree with me, that they tell me, so then we can figure out, is it an understanding thing? Is it is it worth having a conversation about? You know, everybody's not going to agree with everybody. Just waiting for you guys. If you got anything last, if you got any last things to say, like I'm gonna 30 seconds and that'll be it. I'll shut it down. Just looking at it. When you guys see me looking off to the side, it's because I'm trying to keep up with, see what's in the comments. Ten. See ya. Is it when I talk about the keto carnivore doctors that you don't agree with, Ira? Oh, I get it now. Okay. I have a video that I want to do, and I don't know if it's okay that I do this, but I found a lot of information that's on public record on one of our keto doctors. and I mean a lot of information. And I want to release it, but I don't know if it's going to cause a bunch of problems for people. Like, I know it'll cause a bunch of problems for that doctor in a good way, but bad for him, good for the rest of us. But somebody reached out to me a couple weeks ago, and they're a journalist, and they were like, I have some information for you. I understand that you're interested in telling people the truth about stuff. I'm going to drop some things in your lap, and you can do what you want with it. And I had quite a bit of information dropped into my lap, and I started looking up some of the public information records and dockets and stuff that were out there where people can actually look at what's going on and what has gone on in people's lives. This it's one of the reasons why it's one of the reasons why I keep telling you guys to be very selective on who you follow. And it's one of the reasons why I keep hinting around to you. Just because it has a big name, do not buy into it. You do not know what you're following, and you don't know what these people are involved in their private life. And that's the part where I'm trying to be the most honest with you and not trying to tell you what to do, as much as I'm hinting around to wanting you to believe that there's some things going on behind closed doors in a lot of these keto doctors and these professionals' lives, that if you knew about it and you knew what the agenda was, you would not be following them. And that's where that's why I keep saying that without letting too much out of the bag. And there's a whole entire history of what I want to put out, kind of like as a timeline on what's led up to me, like just like I dug into this Impossible Burger for you guys when all these keto doctors are sharing stuff all over social media, talking about how the information that's put out by Dr. Stengel in this livestock article is fact, when at the end of the day, it was all BS. And there was part of it that was true, but the main portion about the estrogen levels and stuff like that was completely fictitious, made up. There was no research done into it. It was all fake. It was something that he put in an article to make people believe that he knew what he was talking about, and he did not. But the sad part about it is, Saladino, Baker, not so much Baker. Baker talked about the article, but he didn't really say it was fact. He didn't even put any emphasis into saying that it was true. He just basically said it was interesting what was posted, and I do agree. Something like that would be interesting, but Sean Baker did not endorse that article at all, like Barry and Nolly did, where they were like, "Oh, if you eat this, you're gonna get all these man boobs, and you're gonna have all these estrogen problems," when they didn't even do any research. And so there was a keto doctor that came up on some sexual harassment type allegations, some misconduct allegations towards the female gender. They have had a lot of shady stuff via citations and stuff that have happened in the past that they don't want people to know about. They don't want it talked about on social media. There was some things over the last 6 months that popped up on information that other people heard them talking about live, like heard them to their face, a group of people, and it wasn't just one person, specifically state out loud that this should happen. And then all of a sudden it did happen, and it all came to fruition. Like, okay, this is not like lies anymore. What you talked about and what you were joking about actually did happen. And now we're left to believe you about any of your keto information. Like, why should we believe you at all? You just basically scammed tons of people in the process, and now you're here putting information out in front of us, and we're supposed to believe you? You're a fucking piece of shit. Like, why would I believe you after you've done all this, and then you have nothing to back up the fact that it hasn't happened? And people follow them like they're God, and it's disgusting. I don't want to go any further right now. There's a lot more to that story, a lot more to that story, with a lot more facts that I pulled up. I pulled all these public records and stuff. I looked into what people were saying locally around them that are the closest to them. I contacted people that were at venues and stuff with them to actually hear what they had to say. I spoke to some of their actual friends that are no longer friends with them that would sit down and listen to them talk about the way they would address things in the keto industry in the world. People that are vendors that sell products and stuff that are at some of these keto meetings and dinners and things like that, that have heard some of these things in private expressed, oh, this is just temporary. This, I come across as this keto god and stuff like that, basically to have people listen to what I have to say. But when the next biggest thing comes along, I'm more about following the fitness and health stuff than anything. Once this dies out, I'll be on to something else anyway. It's not that big a deal. That's why I put so much emphasis on you guys following the doctors that have been doing this stuff for 30 years. I couldn't be more serious as a heart attack when I tell you, follow the people that have been doing this since circa 1980 and before. That's why I keep putting an emphasis in every single one of my videos, trying to tell you guys, do not put so much effort into following these new faces that have popped up over the last 5 years. If you continue to do that, you're fools. There's so much that's going on with a lot of these new people now in the supplement industry, and how they're being bought by different companies and stuff like that understand staying away from sugars and highly processed refined foods and stuff like that is the way to go. So there are companies that are buying into them, or that are paying them to come up with more keto stuff, to come up with more keto products and endorse more keto things, because now they're making tons of money off of that. And when it's all said and done and it's gone, it won't be here anymore. They're not going to be the faces that you see 5 years from now, like these other doctors that have been doing it for 30 years. Ron Rosedale, Feeney, Volek, Westman, Adkins. They won't be around after that. So it's, without me causing too much of a controversy or controversial issue right now, that's why I just keep saying, just watch what you're doing. I've been too involved with these people in private back when they first came around, trying to help them progress and stuff like that, getting to know their admins and their friends and the vendors and stuff that go sell products at the keto events, that hear them talk at dinners in private and stuff like that. And a lot of them don't even know how long I've been doing this to actually talk to a bunch of people in private. I investigate the hell out of people. I will find anything out on you if I want to. And I'll keep pushing and digging until I find everything that I need to find. And I've done enough of that so far to where I'm not happy with what I'm seeing on a lot of people. And a lot of people are doing this in the professional aspect just to make money off people. And they're doing this to fool people. A couple of years from now, they won't even be around anymore. Or if keto is still nice and strong and going strong, they'll be around as long as the money's around. And then they'll be gone. That's what's going on right now. So I know in the last two to 3 weeks, I've got more information than I could possibly even handle on a specific person, primarily, but just on people in general. These people that you see with millions of subscribers and stuff like that, they don't care about you, and they don't care about what you have to say. They don't care about what you want, and they do not care about your health. They care about making your money. That's it. If look at this in the grand scheme of things here. Why is Dr. Eric Westman sitting with 17,000 subscribers? Why is, say for instance, Dr. Ron Rosedale or somebody like that, 30,000 subscribers. But somebody like Dr. Eric Berg is sitting with 3.5 million subscribers. Dr. Ron Rosedale has been doing this a hell of a lot longer than Dr. Berg has. Dr. Eric Westman has been doing this a lot longer than any of these doctors have. These doctors are the head of all this. So why are they not the ones that have 3.5 million subscribers? They're the ones that gave all this information to the guys that we have now. And then people gave them that information. So why is it the doctors that are doing the most work, the most clinical studies that are coming out with the research and getting things paid for, why are they not the ones that are the head of everything, instead of the doctors that are all about the subscriptions and the books and the supplements? Do you guys not see anything wrong with this here? Do you not see anything wrong with who you're following? You're following a pretty face and a nice smile and a nice accent and somebody that's getting up in front of the screen and telling you right now the same thing that I'm telling you, except they got an MD in front of their name. I don't want to be recognized for anything, but what I'm telling you is you're fools for following the people that you follow. You need to figure out, follow all the research back to where it originated from, not these people now that are putting it out all over social media because they have some nice country accent or some nice beach body. You're not going to have that accent and you're not going to have that beach body. I can tell you that right now. But you can get healthy and you can lose the weight. But you can also do that following the people that this information originated from, not the people that learned how to abuse social media and market themselves and sponsor ads and stuff all over the place. Thomas DeLauer has got a new supplement every freaking week with a new company every freaking week being bought and paid for and everything else. That guy's probably the biggest, most bought, paid for person out of any of these keto people I've ever seen. Yeah, he speaks nice off of a teleprompter. Yeah, he speaks nice off of some written stuff that's been put down way ahead of time. He's probably the biggest goofball I've ever seen out of all of this, but people love the information he puts out. The guy's a clown. He's a freaking clown. One week he'll be talking about autophagy and talking about fasting this way, and 2 months from now he's going to retract what he said, and he actually recommends against the 24-hour fast. I mean, yeah. Thomas is one of the biggest flip-floppers I've ever seen. He's probably one of the most bought people in the keto industry. The 7 to 10 cups of leafy greens guy is another one. I was on his private channel. I was on his freaking channel listening to how he was dealing with people, and he didn't even know I was there. He knows I'm there now because he's probably seen stuff that I've said, which I really don't care. But I went on his private group on Facebook after he opened it, and I'm looking at, people asking questions and stuff like that, and I'm trying to help answer them the best that I can. And at the end of the day, before he goes to bed, I see he pops on like 9, 10 o'clock, and for about an hour, oh, here's this video where it explains that. Here's this video. Here's this video. Dude, take 2 seconds and type it up real quick. Just take 2 seconds, type it up. Don't always send them to a video. It's because of the monetization. Oh, here's another supplement. Oh, check out this super green formula. Check out this formula. That's all he was doing every single day at the end of the day on his private group. He created that private group to get people off of YouTube to go to Facebook so he could spam the hell out of his group with his own stuff. Yes, it's free information, but why would you do that? Why would you create a private group so you can spam people with your products when you're already doing that on YouTube? And when I talk about that, people are, no, Dr. Berg is like the freaking best doctor ever, man. He saved my life. How do you think he got that information? It wasn't from him. It wasn't some kind of scientific study he did. It was from Rosedale, Westman, Feeney, Volek, Atkins. It was from Banting, Dr. John Rollo. It was all these people that paved the way and created the way for this. It wasn't Berg. Berg's recommendations are something he fictitiously created on his own, just because he doesn't want to fit in with the rest of the keto crowd. It doesn't have any kind of basis behind anything that hasn't already been done. His recommendations are no different. He just changed it up a little bit to get people to think that his information is more pertinent. It's not. It makes me sick. Like, the time that I've been doing this, the time that I've been involved in all this stuff, it was before any of them even came on social media. And then I started following Berg when he first came on, and he slowly started stepping out of that quiet, shy doctor shell to getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And now he's the biggest keto doctor that we have on social media. Thomas DeLauer is the next one right behind him. He's not even a doctor, a nutritionist. He's a sports medical or medicine writer or something, or sports physical article writer, and I think he's some kind of maybe some kind of trainer or something like that. I mean, he didn't even use keto to get healthy. He used different types of fasting and stuff to get healthy. And one week he's one way, and the next week he's not. And then we can talk about these other yahoos like who's the guy that Dr. Josh Axe, only do keto for 3 months at a time because anything past that is unhealthy for you. And his interactions with Jillian Michaels and how they're together in their sponsorship with the keto products, but yet Jillian Michael talks crap about keto and disregards it and doesn't want people doing keto, but Josh Axe works with her and she gets monetization off the keto products and stuff that are sold, and she's in his videos. She even openly admitted that Josh Axe educated her on a healthy ketogenic diet can be really good for you, but yet he continues to let her make monetization off of the products, and this none of this stuff makes any sense. None of it. But people I agree. The information that people want come from Dr. Eric Westman. If you want that good quality information, you're going to get it from Dr. Eric Westman. Dr. Eric Westman has, like, he even tried doing his whole Heal Clinics thing and all that. I don't know if it slowed down or if some legal stuff came up, but he was actually having people invest in the Heal Clinics, and I hope it does take off for him. I hope he gets that. I will never not listen to something that Dr. Eric Westman says. I remember I got done doing a live stream, and I just got done talking to people about this whole counting macros and becoming a macro Nazi about everything, and that they need to just slow down, back off all that, intuitively listen to your body, make sure you keep your carbs in check, but the rest of the stuff, it'll play itself out. It's not something that you have to be a Nazi about. And I'm sitting there, and I think Dr. Eric Westman was at one of his conferences or something like that, and he was outside taking a break, or it was an intermission or something like that, and he was standing by the water, and he sat down on some rocks, and he put up a video camera, and he started recording himself, and it was like almost verbatim what I had just got done saying. I've been listening to him for so long and learning from him for so long that I actually started sounding just like him with a lot of the things that I explained. And then when I watched that video, it almost was confirmation for me that I'm doing the right thing, that I'm pointing people in the right direction, that I'm helping people the same exact way. Because when you have a mentor like that teaches you the things that you learn, and you expand off of that and kind of do your own learning and research, you become very, very powerful in how you help people. And when I was listening to him talk, it was almost yeah. So I wish more people would have bought into the Heal Clinics. I think if more people would have bought into it, he would have really moved forward with that. That would have been a great thing. I thought about actually opening my own little information clinic, I was going to call it, because there's nothing legally against that. And actually letting people come to like a small office that I would rent for $1,000 a month or something like that, and just have as much information as I possibly could, and have YouTube through my monetization through my YouTube videos and stuff like that help me pay for that little small office, and just have somebody there to where they could direct people on how to get specific information, and have it just like a little small office full of nothing but information that people could come and learn and get guidance from if they wanted to do something, but not medical advice, just all like, this is what this means, this is where this book leads you, kind of guiding them, but without telling them what to do, so there's nothing illegal about it. And I thought about doing something like that myself, but I think of too many projects, and then I get myself all trapped up. Like next year I want to do the Windy City Keto Carnivore event, and I want to rent out my own hall where I kind of allow everybody to come out and not allow them, of course they're allowed, but have everybody come out and see if I can get some people to come out and speak and stuff like that, because I priced it out. It's about $3,500 for the hall. And then if you want to get food and stuff involved, it's like $1,500 to $2,000 for food. And then you just have somebody cater it, and you just, allow 400 to 600 people show up, or you can do it out in the open in a grassy area and just have everybody come together. But I thought it would be a good thing for here in the Chicagoland area, because we don't have anything like that here. And with me pushing as hard as I am lately, I'm getting good information out to people and stuff like that. I thought, why not? It would be a good thing to get going here because we don't have it. We have small groups that maybe get together, but not a big event. I just don't like, I don't like the big name fluffy keto doctors. I don't like them. I really don't. I don't have a need for them. I think there's more to what they're doing than what they're doing. Just something that the Keto Mechanic Caribbean Cruise. I don't want to be another Jimmy Moore in that aspect, even though I do like Jimmy Moore. I know a lot of people don't like me for that, but I do like him. I still think he puts out good information, and a lot of it's based on what Westman says. He does have a Eric Westman involved in a lot of his stuff, and I think that he does put out good quality information, even though his health doesn't, or his weight, I should say, not his health. His weight doesn't reflect the information he's putting out. It's not important to me. What's important to me is the fact that he's putting out good information, and people are getting that from him. I've had plenty of people say, "Wow, I appreciate you pointing me in the right direction to his book." Keto. What is it? Cholesterol Code, or what's his book? Keto. Now I forget the name of his book, and I'm a big brain fart. I never forget the name of his book. Is it Keto? Yeah, Keto Clarity, Cholesterol Clarity. He's got a complete guide on fasting with Dr. Jason Fung, I think. Or it's Dr. Jason Fung with Jimmy Moore. So it's Fung's book, I think, with Jimmy. I think they got like a cookbook and stuff now, what I'm looking at here. Anyway, so that's where we're at, is Keto Clarity, Cholesterol Clarity. There's a couple cookbooks, fasting. What was the other one? The fasting one? The complete guide to fasting, Dr. Jason Fung with Jimmy Moore. So I don't mind Jimmy at all. Jimmy seems to be a very nice spoken guy. There was some drama that kind of grew up in the past with him whenever he was having his different coaching facilities available. One of the people that helped manage the facility, they had some financial run-ins, so we'll just leave it at that. And needless to say, it wasn't really anything bad on Jimmy's part. I think it was the other way around, but I don't know that for sure. Jimmy, actually, I would post on Jimmy's video a lot, and I would talk to him and bring up topics and stuff like that. And Jimmy was interested in maybe interviewing me to be one of the mentors or one of the coaches at one of the facilities to help people, because of how much I actually got people involved with keto and how I was trying to be a part of people's lives. And I think he admired that. And I think the conversation we did have, he had mentioned a few times if I was interested in possibly being one of the coaches at one of the facilities here locally, if that's something that took off. And I told him I would love that. I would love to be able to help people. But now I'm to the point where I just like doing my own thing. I don't like being tailored to anybody. I don't like, anytime a lot of the keto doctors and stuff, their videos get posted on my own private groups. I have Keto Nation Carnivore Official. And if you look at my icon, that's the icon for the group. It's got the KNO, Keto Saves Lives. Anytime I'm on there doing stuff and somebody posts like a mainstream keto doctor's video, I delete it right away. I don't want it on my channel. But if somebody was to post like a recipe article from like Greek Goes Keto, he's his own entity, or that group has made their own thing. I mean, they've built it from the bottom. They're not a big face anywhere, and they've got some of the best recipes I've ever seen before. Or if like Maria Emmerich wants to post or something like that, I allow that stuff 100% because I know that stuff helps people. But when it comes to a big face keto doctor, somebody posts their stuff on my page, it deleted immediately. I don't want that crap on my page. And that's exactly what it is. I don't want it. It's a bunch of junk. I find that I get more information and good quality recipes from people that are like authors, people that are struggling moms and parents, like people like you and me. I could go over to Bob's channel and see that he came up with a new sauce that, you know, you could make for keto that was clean and absolutely love it, rather than go to some big name and find out, make it, and then find out, oh, this is trash, man. I don't want this junk. But Bob's recipe, you know, maybe he's got 2,000 subscribers. I'm thinking to myself, man, why is this guy not bigger than what he is? I mean, I just find that there's so much more support and people like that. They come out with stuff that's 10 times better than a lot of these big names. You know, why is Maria Emmerich and Craig Emmerich's group not bigger than what it is? You know, 30, 40,000 people. They should have millions of people. They help so many people. They have books for everything. I mean, they really put a lot of time into doing what they do, and there's nothing crooked about them. They're really good, honest, caring people. But they have some of the least amount of subscribers out of any of the keto pros, which they started this way before a lot of these doctors did. And they still don't have the notoriety that they should get. Look at Holly Berry. Holly Berry's talking about Maria Emmerich's books all the time. She's talking about how it's helped heal her and how she recommends it to other people and stuff like that. We have celebrities talking about her books, but yet her groups are not growing. But some chump from you know, some groups or some part of the world where people like his accent or the way he looks or the way he comes out and says something straight, and he's got an MD in front of his name, could start making videos and all of a sudden it spreads like wildfire. Isn't it ironic how we just talk about this whole keto movement, including the keto doctors, talk about how doctors will lie to you, how doctors will tell you fibs, and how they're not looking out for your health, and that you shouldn't be so stuck on listening to your doctor all the time? Isn't it ironic how we go about saying all that, but as soon as some nice-faced keto doctor comes around, that's exactly what people do? Isn't it? It's kind of odd. It's like the new keto standard medical practice has showed up, and it's the brainwashing all over again, and people buy into it like it's the truth, and a lot of it's not. Another thing is, the answer for all these conditions all the time is keto, 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 keto. And I'm like, shut the hell up already. The keto diet is a great diet, but it's not the end all be all to all conditions. There are certain types of cancer that cannot be cured by being on a ketogenic diet. There are certain types of cancer that don't grow off just sugar, that food in general, fat affects them as well. So by saying the answer to everything is keto, that would be wrong. Or somebody with high histamine intolerance or autoimmune conditions, by going on a ketogenic diet, is not going to be the fix for that every single time. You know, the keto diet is one of the worst diets for histamine levels. A keto diet is actually very, very high in histamines. It just all depends on what your condition is, where you're at in your life, whether or not you can individually give it a try and assess whether or not it's for you and you've honestly done it correctly, that you can find out if is it for you. But I too often see the answer for everything is everybody wants to push keto, 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 keto. And I'm like, dude, chill, man. Relax. There are other diets that may help people. That's not the answer for everything. Use some sense. Is it a diabetic condition? It will work for that. Is it an autoimmune condition? It will work for that, but the carnivore diet is probably 10 times better for both of those conditions. Is it a condition where somebody's trying to fight like kidney disease or liver disease? Yeah, it could work for that, but I would be apt to push more towards not so many leafy greens and more of a higher protein, fat-based, more carnivore style than anything. But it's just a matter of perception and what you want to do with it. The keto diet is not the answer for all these conditions that we put out that it is. It's good for somebody trying to get their glucose under control. It's good for somebody that wants to try to like help with their thyroid condition and stuff like that. I would absolutely be more apt to tell somebody to try the carnivore diet because of those conditions than keto. But if you want a little variety in your life and you're just trying to lose some weight and get healthy, the keto diet was phenomenal for that. You know, it's a great diet. In my hierarchy of diets, I would put carnivore first, and then I would put keto after it. And the only reason is, I think carnivore is the most eliminating when it comes to the histamines and the junk and all that other stuff that's in your food. And your body can tolerate the carnivore diet 10 times better than the ketogenic diet just starting out. And there is more of an adaptation phase with it, metabolically, or I can't say that. I shouldn't say that. and not even digestively. The digestion is fine. It's more of like the bathroom movements and stuff that people get scared about is freaking them out, you know. And the whole what was it, keto crotch, the whole keto crotch article that Weight Watchers had put out, and it kind of threw everybody for a loop. um, exactly, that is well put, Ira. I'm just going to call you Ira because I don't know your name. This is a very, very good statement here. But remember the whole keto crotch thing? Remember when that came out and everybody was like, oh, it's fake. It's not real. It's not real. It very much is real. Dr. Ken Berry and Dr. Berg and Jimmy Moore and all these other people that were talking trash about it because they didn't want people to think bad about keto, they were completely wrong. I had videos out on this a year, 8 months to maybe even more than a year before this even happened, talking about how your pH levels change, how early on when I started my first keto group, women would talk to me in private because they were embarrassed about their body odor changing on a ketogenic diet, their armpits, under their breasts, from down under, and they would use different methods to clean themselves to kind of get this to go away. And I had videos out long before this even happened. I mean, and a lot of people went back and challenged me on that because they thought I was lying, and then they did see, oh shit, this guy's right. He did have a video out on this 8 months before. These doctors don't want you to think bad about keto, or these authors don't want you to think bad about keto because they know that there's a possibility they may lose monetization and subscribers. But the fact of the matter is, any diet change, no matter what it is, can affect your pH levels, and your body is very self-regulating, but sometimes it takes a while for it to regulate its pH levels to kind of be in balance. And when I was looking through all this, I was starting to see that this is not just one person or two people that were affected by this odor. This is many people that were affected by this type of odor. And they called it at the time keto kitty, keto crotch. And what women would use is they would use like a 25% apple cider vinegar wash with 75% water. And they would mix up the solution and they would bathe themselves. They would kind of wipe under their arms. They would wipe under their breasts. They would take like an antifungal type medicine or something like that. They would just take showers more often. Maybe instead of once a day, they were taking it twice a day. And it was a thing that was actually going on. And when I had presented, you guys are all fools for even saying this is a lie, because you know it's not. You know it's completely true. It's a temporary transition phase. It comes maybe a week, maybe two, and it's gone. And then it's back to normal. And then it doesn't even come back again unless you're off for keto for long periods of time, and then you go back, you may get a little smell, but that is normal. These are the odors that we talk about coming out of the mouth, the armpits, under the breast, in between the legs. These are normal. This is what happens. Have you just been born to keto today? Because I've been doing this for years, and this is something that's been around for a while. And they just really wanted people to believe that this is not a possibility, because the way the article wrote it was that you're basically rotting from the inside out. And it's not true. It's just a temporary change in odor. And you can clean more if you want. You can increase your electrolytes if you want. You can go back to eating maybe higher level of amounts of carbs, but it will probably come back because you need to actually let your body push to that transition phase. A lot of people say it's toxins being released from the body and stuff, and part of that odor is coming from the toxins. And that's not simply the case. I made a video talking about all the different recommendations from all the doctors, and I actually put a compiler, or how do you say it, a compiled video together talking about Dr. Berg, Dr. Berry, Dr. Who, Dr. this, Dr. all these different people. And I was like, look, no more of this stuff. Keto rash, the keto smells, all that stuff. Keep your electrolytes up, hydrate to your body's liking, not to some fictitious number, not half your body weight in ounces of water, because that's complete BS. Hydrate to your body's liking, keep your electrolyte levels and stuff up. You're probably going to have to shower more than once a day if you're a lady experiencing this. And the keto rash and flu and all that other stuff all seem to be tied into some form or fashion around the same time frame when these things happen, and they'll go away. Just it's a transition phase. Let your gut flora change. Let your whole digestive tract start to adapt to its new eating style. Let your body start to push out what it needs to push out and flush what it needs to flush out, and you will be completely fine. Your body will regulate its pH levels because that's what it was born, that's what it was basically made to do. It will balance it all out and move on about yourself. So this whole big deal that was created about all these people wanting to make articles about the keto crotch thing, they were the ones that were wrong to begin with. The keto crotch thing does happen, but it was all the keto doctors and stuff again trying to lie about things, saying, oh, that's not possible, that's not a thing. Yes, it is a thing. It has been a thing. It was out long before you guys started trying to debunk it. I had videos out long before that talking about ladies that were on my private groups, not giving names, that were experiencing it. I even had a couple nurses show up in my comment section when I was talking about it and said, no, this dude's right. Like, since I've been on keto, I did notice I do have an odor change, and it's going away slowly. It's a transition phase. I mean, it happens. And the thing is, just like agendas that are pushed on the standard American side, it's also pushed on the keto side. So it's a bunch of BS when these guys come forward. Oh no, this is not possible. It's not. Yes, it is. It's very possible, and it does happen that way. And that's what leads me to believe a lot of them are not as professional as they think they are in the aspect of this. And that's why I don't put a lot of emphasis into listening to a lot of keto doctors to begin with, because when I look at the amount of time that I've been doing this compared to some of the newer faces the last couple of years, they don't have nowhere near the experience that I do. So that's why I just quit. Real life experience working with people, regardless if you're a medical provider or not, you can do it. Anybody can do it. If you got time under your belt, that time with people and learning things and learning how to fix things is more important than actually looking from the book at what it is. So when I got my job as a master tech at the Ford dealership, they said, how much time do you have? Do you know how to pull a dash out of a car? Do you know how to rebuild a transmission? Do you know how to rip a rear end out and rebuild it? I want to know that you know how to do that stuff, and then we'll look at your certifications. So the seniority there, the time, the experience and stuff is what people really want. So I'm looking at things from that aspect on how most things actually happen in life, and then the credentials come after, or that's ideally how I would think it should be. And I think to myself, wait a second, you started the Atkins diet when I was in foster care back when I was 17 years old, and I ran that for about 2 years, and I lost about 25 pounds. I wasn't really heavy. I lost about 25 pounds, and I got super shredded back then. I have pictures from back when I was 18, 19 years old, walking off construction sites, carrying a 100-foot a contractor line, up above my head, and I'm walking off the job site, and I've got this hose, and you can see how big my chest was and how flat my stomach was back then at 17, 18 years old. And I started the Atkins diet back then, and I felt so good while I was in that ketotic phase, when I was going through that level of ketosis, that I didn't want to come out of it. I noticed when I added more carbs back in, I started to feel a little bit more sluggish. So I stayed in that ketotic phase. And that's back with my foster family when I was 17 years old. I didn't know nothing then. I was just starting to experience life. But I did know that I felt better when I was in a longer state of ketosis than coming out of it. So I would go to the gym in a ketotic state. I would work in a ketotic. I just loved being in that state all the time. So there was something early on at 17 years old where I realized, wow, this Robert Atkins guy, he really knew what he was talking about. So my parents lost a bunch of weight. I was super healthy off of it. I loved being on it. All my labs were fine. And then going into the military, I continued to feel, wow, this meat-based protein style diet or whatever, do I even need to eat carbs? Do I need to even eat these green leafies and stuff like that? I just cut all that junk out, and I just went straight carnivore. And I found that if I kept my fat levels lower and I kept my protein levels higher, I was in a better performance state for myself. So that's what I would stay in. So all these years of me practicing doing this and showing it to other people, and now I'm watching all this BS pop up from all these doctors that have been doing it for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, and now they're thought of as the professionals. I'm thinking to myself, how? Why? What? There are so many other people that I talk with in the comment section when I do my videos and stuff that have been doing it even longer than me, 15, 20 years, that are super geniuses when it comes to this stuff. And I'm like, man, why are these people not like bigger than what they are? These people have been doing it forever, and they could probably help tons of people, but they have a normal life. It's like that voice that you didn't think that you would ever hear that's so appealing to your ear. You're like, man, that person's got it. Why are you not more popular than what you are? I'll run across a YouTube video of a guy that sings country music, and I'm like, wow, man, he's got an amazing voice. Why is he not on the radio? He hasn't had a shot yet. it takes a while for them to be seen, or maybe they don't want to be seen. Maybe they like the smaller crowd. So there's a lot of things that I get so tied up with on this new social media, medical doctor faces and stuff that pop up that disgust me. I'm like, why are you even buying into this junk? But the videos on the sex drive, the stamina, estradiol and stuff, progesterone and estradiol changing and stuff in women. I had videos on that long before any of these keto doctors came out with their stuff. Like whenever somebody starts a ketogenic diet and their estrogen and estradiol levels are completely off, you're going to find that there are periods of you don't want any kind of sexual activity when you first start. Your actually libido is going to go down for probably quite a while until your body starts learning how to regulate its progesterone, estrogen levels. Your cycle is going to be off. You're going to get heavier sometimes. It's going to be lighter sometimes. And then 4, 5, 6 months later, all of a sudden it starts to regulate. I was talking about this stuff long before these guys came around because I've working with so many females on my private groups about these types of things, and they learn to trust you. When you're a nice face, when you have a nice personality, they learn to deal with you very directly, and they learn to trust you in private. So they're like, hey, I noticed that the last month my cycle lasted an extra 3 days. And I was like, well, when did you start noticing the cramps or that something was coming on early? Because remember, I warned you that coming onto a ketogenic diet, everything was going to be all screwed up. When you normally think you're going to get it, you may not get it, or it may be a week early, or maybe 2 weeks late, or that month you may not even get it at all. And you might think you're pregnant when really you're not. It's just a diet change. And I get into the fact that, okay, it was a couple days early, so maybe your progesterone spiking too early and your estrogen levels aren't coming up like they should to help regulate everything. You're going to have to give it some time, or maybe it was heavier this month because of some reason. Let's see what happens over the next couple months and monitor this. And I want you to actually get a tracker and actually start writing down when you're noticing it happen. Does it end up going back to the way it was before? And then all of a sudden, 3, 4, 5 months later, it's back to a normal schedule again. It's back to the same heaviness over again. And people are like, dude, how do you know about it? Just learn, read, get into stuff, look at other people's lives, figure out how other women are dealing with this type of thing right now. And don't be embarrassed to actually learn about something that you don't have to deal with. You become more of a knowledgeable person. And at the time, there was bad information being passed around by different people on the keto groups. Keto Connect, when I was on their group, back when they had 20,000 people at the time, they were nothing like they are now. Back when it really started to grow and get big, there was a diabetic in the comment section. He was talking about not a diabetic, a guy that was worrying about blood pressure. And he was talking about sodium levels. And I remember one of their admin at the time popping up and, oh, you can have 8, 9, 10,000. It doesn't matter. Just eat sodium. You'll be okay. This guy was like brand new with medical conditions coming to the ketogenic diet. And these are the type of people that were giving recommendations. And here I am in the comment section, years of experience past these guys or whatever. And I'm thinking to myself, what the hell is wrong with these people? And I popped up and I said, look, you're probably going to delete me from your group, which I did get deleted and booted from the group. No big deal. But here's the deal. You're a diabetic. You got these blood pressure problems, whatever it may be. You have to start out small. You're going to have to gauge this for yourself. You're going to have to step into this very, very slowly. This is what I suggest, and I'm not an admin here. I just happen to know more than these yahoos do. Start out with 2,000 milligrams. Step yourself up a little bit at a time. So the first week, maybe each day, instead of 2,000 milligrams, you have 2,500 milligrams. See how that does. Monitor your blood pressure. For a week, see what happens. Maybe go a second week at that rate and see what happens. Are you feeling better? If you're feeling better and the symptoms seem to go away and your blood pressure does come down, stop right there. Run that out for a little while. Keep a log. Track what's going on with you. Get a hold of your medical condition. Start stepping into that sodium realm. Okay, maybe another 250 the next week. See if you feel better. See if it comes down even more. And step it out little by little by little and assess your situation based on the logging and stuff that you do. Don't listen to some Yahoo admin somewhere that's telling me, oh, you're on a ketogenic diet now. You should be able to have 8,000 plus milligrams of sodium. Shut up. Don't listen to this guy. Start tracking it. And this is the kind of patterns I've ran through over the years of trying to help and work with other people Um, because of how I do things, I was actually pulled onto an all-female group. And the admin that created the group, or the creator of the group, said, Rich, I really like the stuff that you put out. I've been following you for a long time. I have my own female group. Would you mind coming on like Thursdays and maybe teaching us something that you've learned along the years? Sure, I'd love to do that. I would love to help answer any questions or whatever. And I just love people. I love being able to help people where it's not another big face that they're seeing. It's somebody normal that's learned through the efforts and education of working with other people, trial and error. And that's the best way to do it. And I came on Thursday. We talked, answered some questions and stuff like that. It was a hit. People absolutely loved what I had to say, and it was a knockout of the park. The ladies were like, you know what, you should offer this guy maybe an extra day during the week to come on because it really helped us. Well, one of the females that had seen me do stuff live before in the comment section had seen that I went live, and they all of a sudden had to throw a fit over it. And it's one of the popular YouTubers because they don't want you to get more credit than they get. They need to be bigger and be the most knowledgeable when they're really not. They're more into the fluffy recipes, the sweeteners, the junk added to your food and stuff all the time. And I'm like, look, I don't care what your problem is with me. That doesn't need to affect the entirety of the rest of the group. And it was an awesome knockout of the park live. I was never able to go back again because this lady caused so much of a stink with the group themselves that they never asked me to come back because they didn't want problems. And because she was a popular YouTuber, they didn't want to upset her because then she would talk bad about the group. This is the kind of political junk that happens inside these groups and stuff. That's why I'm always talking about the stupid Nazi keto police and the carnivore police and stuff, and all these YouTubers and stuff that have hard feelings and stuff towards other people because they do things different or something like that. You know, I'll go to a YouTuber's channel that you look at what they started, say it was a lady, 240 pounds or something like that. I found her like a month ago, and I clicked back as far as I could click, and she was on a vegan diet like 3 or 4 years ago. And I looked at her weight on the vegan diet 3 or 4 years ago, and I kind of compared her body type and stuff to what's going on now 4 years later. She went from a vegan diet to a keto diet. She lost no weight. And now I see the intro of her video. She's got some big giant bulletproof coffee. She's dumping cinnamon in there, Tony's or Tarani syrup in there. She's dumping whipped cream in there. She's mixing all this stuff in there. She's got like 6 ingredients by the time it's all said and done. And I'm thinking to myself, what the hell is this crap? This bulletproof coffee is now made into this 6-meal coffee. And I told this girl, I said, what are you doing? Like, I looked at you 4 years ago when you were vegan compared to now, and there's like almost no change. How do you got 35,000 followers? And I'm over here stuck with this. You know, this is back when I actually cared about all that stuff. I don't really care anymore. And you're putting all this trash info to people. You're teaching them how to make 7-8 ingredient bulletproof coffee. And you're doing nothing but taxing the hell out of their hormones and stuff doing this. I don't care if it has a blood sugar response or not. There's a cephalic insulin response, and that's your body preparing for food that it's going to ingest, whether it has calories or not. Do you not follow up on this stuff? Do you not go out and research this stuff? Do you not go see what the cephalic insulin response does to somebody's body? You don't even have to eat that before your body starts preparing for food, especially when it has cinnamon and Splenda and all this other stuff and Tarani syrup in it. Your body's going to have a hell of a heyday with its taste buds. Your cephalic insulin response can be triggered off of an enzymatic response in the stomach that then turns on dopamine level that then starts responding with small levels of insulin being secreted into the system in order for you to start preparing to eat food. Do you not know this stuff? Oh, you know, I didn't know it was that big a deal, dude. It's my channel and I'm going to put out what I want to put out. And I'm like, my God, I don't understand why these people are, I mean, I think it's just because it's a human nature thing. I think it's because people like junk. I think it's because people look like that type of person, so they would rather relate to that type of person than go to somebody else that has lost 157 pounds or that is more keen on the real good information rather than the junk information. I think a lot of people in the keto community still want to hear how to have that junk in a more dirty keto style eating. And that's the biggest problem that I have. It's the fact that these people get latched onto that movement, or the fact that they can have these keto muffins out of out of a cup, or the keto velvet cake and all this other stuff. And I see a place for that sometimes. Don't get me wrong. But when that becomes what your channel's about, you got problems. And when I look at something 4 years, like 4 years ago, this is what you look like, and now you still look like that, and you're preaching keto the way I seen the lady opening a bag and pulling sausage patties with 4 or 5 grams of sugar a patty out and making it for breakfast, and then pulling hash browns or something out of it. And it's under my carb level. It's under my carb level. So I'm okay, because it's at the end of the day, it's calories in versus calories out, and it's kind of eat whatever you want method. And I'm thinking to myself, I wonder how far their subscribers are getting along. Probably not very good at all. If you go back to, this is what I like to do sometimes, is I like to go back to, where is my Facebook? Here. I'm going to show you guys something that I actually, well, I'm looking. If you guys want to ask anything, you can. I'm sorry for, go to my home page. I have a posting where where is it at? I think it's right here, actually. If I go back to, oh wow, yeah, this is it here. I have a posting which I'll grab the link for, or I'll try to grab the link. Let me see if I can. I don't know if I can. I think I can. I want you guys to look at this. Here's the link. Paste it in the comment section. Chat. This is my Facebook, my private Facebook. And I posted this article this morning at 6 a.m. and it's already been seen over 2,000 times from people all over the world. I decided that I would share this with family and friends. Some of you have medical conditions, and some of you have suffered from loss of family members with medical conditions. We've been lied to for too long. We've been told that consuming proteins and fats from cows and chickens, lamb, and pig is what's causing us to be sick. This is what's causing us to have heart disease, and this is what's causing us to have clogged arteries. And the reason we are obese is because we're consuming too much fat and things of this nature. But little did we know, the whole entire time, medical providers have been very misinformed. So as the technology improves and education improves, we improve with it. But no, it seems that we're not doing that. Here's an article that clearly explains the causality, or the direction of the direction we should be looking. The very thing that they've been telling us is what's causing heart disease, cardiovascular disease, is not saturated fat from animal products. It's actually refined carbohydrates and sugar. Thank you, Mr. Kellogg. Bread, rice, pasta, cereals, cakes, different flours such as all-purpose flours. that you eat on a daily basis. It's the pies, the fried foods that you stop and get from the gas station every day, the sugar that you dump in your coffee every single day, the fact that you can't wait for holidays to have those treats. You got to have them every single day or every single weekend. It's the refined junk, the processed foods and sugars, the unnatural carbohydrates that are in your food, and then let's GMO everything you shits. If you're tired of being sick and you're tired of seeing family members get sick, and if you're tired of friends dying and getting sick, what you should do is take heed to this type of advice. This is the very thing that's killing us. This is the very thing that started in circa 1948, a $40 million obesity epidemic, and turned into over $1 trillion obesity epidemic. In about 1950, we started fat-free, cholesterol-free. We started different things like margarine, hydrogenated vegetable oils, canola oils, peanut oils. We let lobbyists start getting into the pocketbooks of farmers and let big pharma start controlling more and more. If you notice, people get sicker and sicker. They don't get better. And all these types of foods are junk, just junk. If you want good, healthy oils, then you eat olive oil, avocado oil as dressings. In additions, not be used with heat. Then you cook with tallow and lard or real butter, coconut oil, ghee. Saturated fats don't have any double carbon bonds to break, so they don't oxidize under heat, and much healthier for you than avocado oil and olive oil. Even though those are healthy oils, just don't cook with olive oil or avocado oil. Cooking oils: coconut, tallow, lard, butter, ghee, homemade rendered fat. Good oils: fats, dressings, or oils to add: olive oil, avocado oil, some others as well. Bad oils and fats are oils to never use: vegetable oil, canola oil, peanut oil, seed oils. Seed oils and these oils above are bad and are very inflammatory. This lady here says, this is what I've been searching for. I've had 6 family members die directly from what you shared here. 4 from cancer, 2 from heart attacks. I've had cancer twice, and yet most of my friends and family do not see the connection. I can't wait to share this. Thank you for the endless time and effort you do to educate us. I'd like to thank you for all your hard work and knowledge that you give us. I almost died in July in the ICU, 9 days. If I had not come across your videos, I might not be here today, Rich. I have no medical conditions. This is going to make me sad. I have so many medical conditions, and one by one they're going away. Thanks to all your knowledge you provide us, and thank you. Thank you. We love you, and thank you so much. I can't even talk. It hurts to go back and see this because just how many people are sick. I really appreciate the time that you put in to not only better yourself, but to help others in your journey. Thank you for your friendship and being awesome, all the videos, information, time you spend. It's just, everybody, thanks for the article. Thanks for all your help. Thanks for what you do. And this is so many people just responding to this. So many. Because of just people like me sharing this stuff. It doesn't take a doctor. It doesn't. Look at my buddy here. My buddy Matthew Frank, 20 years old, when he said, I was 20 years old when I met Rich in the spring of 2017. He's a great coworker, friend, and a role model. He took the time to educate everyone at our company about his lifestyle. And at first I was skeptical, but over time I saw the results in Rich. Basically, everyone I talked to about keto, including my mom, gave me the same spiel about you're going to lose weight and gain more back, and your cholesterol level is going to skyrocket. All the negative stereotypes about this lifestyle. And it was hard for me to get on board, but Rich was the only one that believed in me, and I decided to try it for a month. October 1st, 2017 was the first day of my journey. Within weeks, I was losing weight, feeling the best I've ever felt in years, feeling confident, and for the first time, I saw hope in my health. I was 366 pounds when I started. I weigh 276 now, and I couldn't be more thankful to Rich and the Keto Nation. And that's my group that I talk to everybody on. And I tagged Matt from Keto Connect. He never responded, didn't really even care about what I posted. I wanted him to see all the people that I had shared this to, and I wanted to, you know, at least let him see what kind of work that I was doing, so he would know that I'm not just some Joe Schmo just pumping the stuff out there. That whenever I tried correcting his admin, whenever I given a diabetic or a person with high blood pressure advice, it's not because I'm brand new to this or even a year. It's because I've been doing this for years, and I tagged him to this so he could be more confident in me helping people. And they booted me out of the group anyway. They were just giving terrible, terrible advice, and I wanted to step in and kind of help some. I started keto 3 years ago by a friend who suggested I give it a try, since it had helped her. I mainly did a lot of self-research and found there's a lot of misinformation being placed. I learned to filter through a lot of it through trial and error. While I was a moderator for a keto low carb group, I was getting fed up with all the misinformation being taught to others. Everyone in that group was confused. Arguments commenced on a daily basis. When I sought out a new source, source to follow and further my learning, somehow I fell upon a group that Richard helped, which is me, and I instantly fell in love with his candid, straightforward, and honest way of teaching keto carnivore to others. I'm very thankful to have met him online. In the short time of knowing him, I was able to fine-tune my lifestyle and still continue to fine-tune it. I've been carnivore for 5 months now. I was able to quit all sweeteners. This whole way of eating is absolutely life-changing. If in the time I was keto, I lost 46 pounds, might be more. I quit weighing myself April of 2018. I lost 10 inches around my entire body, going from a US size of 18 to 10, all this done with minimal exercise. I would go hiking now and then nothing else. Reverse GERD, high blood pressure, depression, anxiety, borderline personality disorder, insomnia, PTSD, including night terrors, reduced symptoms of IBS. IBS is now non-existent with carnivore, and Leotypal band syndrome. To compare this method versus other dieting exercises in my life, here it is. Back in 2012, I took 1 year span to drop 50 pounds and go from a size 16 to a 12. I had to exercise 5 times a week vigorously, plus hire a personal trainer to get there. I lived off salads, lean meat, and protein, shakes filled with carbs. I felt starved all the time. I still had GERD, high blood pressure, depression, all the other stuff I listed. It was mind-boggling to think how hard I worked just to lose the weight. That's it, nothing else. Oh yeah, and I still had this bloated, thick waist, thinking this is just how I'm shaped. Nope. With keto and then carnivore, I actually have a smaller waist than my hips and chest. I literally thought all my carb life, the bloated belly look was just part of my genetic makeup. This is the kind of stuff that I do, and I try to get other people involved in. So just to kind of share some of that stuff with you guys, if you wanted to be part of my private Facebook, that you'll see I try not only to educate people in the keto space, but all over the world. I try to let my friends and family know. I don't force it down their throat. I'm very, very calm about it. I post something educational, and I let them decide beyond that whether or not they so choose to do so. So I think that's a good way to end this right now. I've been on here for 3.5 hours. Thank you guys. Thank you for being here this long. Thank you for showing me love and support. Now I'm gonna let you go. Let's get on with our day. Enough of the black sheep, and have a great day, guys. Thank you all. Just wanted to end with that. Be blessed.